Brandon, welcome to another talk, countercultural conversation. Good to see you again. How you been?
Good to see you again, Mark. Again, we this is so easy. We were hitting record on for the sake of the audience. We were hitting it off prior pre-camera.
I
I
think
think
we
it
could,
started
well, we
becoming
we have
norm with
talked for hours. I mean, we've talked for hours about what's going on in the world. I mean, there's so many things to discuss, and
yeah,
especially what I value with you is, I mean, clearly understatement of the year. You have such deep knowledge about what's going on. You can dive into any topic that people show up with or want to show up with. What we were talking about right before
yeah.
we hit record here was I was mentioning that anyone who follows your page for 3, 4, 5, 6 months or a year, irrefutable evidence that the United States is an evil entity created for nefarious means. Uh, what are your thoughts on that? Is that what you find from your
It's
audience? Did they see it?
it's been compromised to the extreme. But yeah, as I was saying, I had this guy. He wrote a comment. I can't remember what post it was under. It was something to do with anti-war or whatever. And he
Hmm.
says, "I usually disagree with most of your posts in general, but this on this one, you're 100% correct." And I'm like, okay, in general, which means somehow you hit follow. You
Hmm.
have not hit unfollow. You've not commented anything prior to my knowledge.
That's a broad blanket statement. I mean,
Yes. And so I'm thinking, so obviously on a subconscious level, you're acknowledging that my stuff convicts you to re-examine the way you perceive the world, even
yeah,
if
what?
you
Yeah,
don't agree with it.
clearly there's something there. Like I don't go and
Right,
consume content that isn't going to benefit me. I don't watch movies coming out of Hollywood anymore. It's a waste of time.
right.
But so, you
But the
know,
fact that he said that particular phrase, and I think that's the thing, dude, is that some people. I had another one under the little season thing. He popped up and says, "I do dramatria," and something. It was something bashing Trump. I was just like, "Yeah, whatever." I just throw these people out at this point.
mhm,
Sorry, I have the right to do that.
mhm.
But I was chuckling because I said, "I don't do dramatria. What I'm showing you is the thing the pastor will never show you, and say this is what they believe. This is
Yeah,
what that number and this thing means to them."
mhm.
I personally, dude, I suck at math. I hate math.
Yeah,
I can't stand the freaking thing or of a missing number and put a letter in the no. What I'm showing, but again, you're using it as a deflection of saying, well, you're dabbling in that. No,
mhm.
I'm in a field of breaking down. This is what it means to them. And if this is now when you write your comment is defending your theory, I'm about to deflect from what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm telling you the end times are now, and these are the things we have to look for. You know what I'm saying? But it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the further you push against them, that's when they become defensive. But when you're starting to push against things currently in our culture, like again the Memorial Day thing, I can read a comment that I had on that.
Yeah, read it.
Um,
Yeah,
People get hostile and or
sure,
very defensive because then they're saying,
sure.
"Well, it was a false flag event. You don't, like you don't respect soldiers and veterans, and it keeps going on and on and on." And I'm like,
Yeah,
listen, I think the best way to honor a soldier's memory is to not put more soldiers in the ground.
sure.
I mean, is that wrong? No. And secondly, we're supposed to be soldiers of Christ, and we're
Yeah,
not supposed to be part of the things of this world. Now, granted, a lot more lean pacifist, as in we don't even pick up anything when they come to, pick us up. That's one route. Personally, at this point, I think because of end times clause, this is me. I could be wrong. Feel free to have your differing opinion. I think if you're going to come and pick me up, I have full right to defend myself because
sure.
cyborg robots, I'm not really too keen on whatever outcome that's going to bring about.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I find that too. I my kind of philosophy is I came here to do what I feel God would want me to do or Jesus would do. What would Jesus do in this situation? What would he say? What would he think? How would he
right.
react to this? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm the emissary, or they're trying to emulate them or him. And then I think to myself, I definitely wouldn't be posting, God's got this. Jesus got this. And I'm like, well, that doesn't help anything. That doesn't feed a mouth or wash a freaking foot or build a house. Or I'm
Or
like,
or
what are
in,
you
or put
doing?
seeds in somebody's mind.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, because but that's why I think it's that's I think how Christians get exploited so much is they've put so because people don't want to act. I think it's a cop out, quite frankly. They won't admit it, I don't think,
Yes.
but they don't want to act. But it's exploitation. God's got this. God's got this. I'm like, dude, share
Well,
share knowledge or information. Do something positive, beneficial. It frustrates me.
that's where I do agree with Prometheus Lens, the comment writer last time, where he was
Hmm.
saying is like, oh, it's just a cop out, wait for the rapture and get out of here. I do concur, but
Hmm.
I do differ on the aspect of we should do it, not the government. What do you mean?
I agree.
Per
Yes,
person,
good
because
point.
again, funnel system is
Good
my
point.
political pundit, it's my politician, it's my priest. As you said before, I would be warning everybody every week, right? I'd be
Yes.
talking with everybody about
Oh,
what's going on in the
I'm
world,
so
not just give them a nice sermon and be like, "Thank you, pastor," and you walk out. We
yeah.
would be hitting this thing. And I was just reading a post prior to this, and I've seen this before, but it's like maybe this is why the early ecclesia were meeting in people's homes, or they were meeting out by a river or something like that. The concept being, if we can't narrow down on one particular building, it's
Yeah.
constantly on the move, and a moving target is hard to hit because only people that are actually part of it know where they're going, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing. What you were talking about, I was breaking that down. The problem that's happened, dude, is that people are doing the Adamic excuse, the women which thou gavest me, the politician, the pundit, the general who told me to go and which thou gavest me, and God's like, I don't care about your excuse of pointing to
Yeah.
a more incompetent, morally depraved individual. I'm asking about, what are you doing? Are you
Yeah.
hiding your candle under a bushel, or are you actually doing something for the kingdom of heaven? And most people, they don't want to
No.
acknowledge that part, and I think that's why the convenience of voting, or
Yeah.
this premeditative cognitive dissonance,
Yeah.
it's easier to entertain that because I don't have to do anything and I can point fingers at this guy. And that's why when I was
Yeah.
writing that song, as every beggar calls his king a fool, how did the king get the
Mm.
position? Right? And you don't understand all the stress and pains that come with the job, because then you have a whole country relying on what your edicts are going to say and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So again, your beggar is going to call you a fool, but you're living in
Sure.
luxury, also in
Sure.
hell, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, most people don't want to take personal responsibility for their lives. They certainly don't want to take it for their country or whatever. I mean, it's just, well, and then you go back into this, Americans have been seduced by bread and circuses and, gratification. I'm like, they got you, we're so docile in this country, but we're supposed to be the most brave and free. And I'm like, oh my
and,
gosh.
and outspoken. And
And
it's over here like,
outspoken.
if we're outspoken, how come people get upset when we're examining too closely the 9/11 events?
Yes.
Right? Do you
Well,
see how Charlie Kirk squirms with these
yeah.
ones, dude? It makes me laugh because it's like, it's so freaking obvious at this point.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't just say, no, that just didn't happen. Or you try to deflect, well, that's anti Semitic. Well, what's your thoughts on the Holocaust? No, we're talking
Yeah.
about 9/11, Charlie. Well, you're not going to, no, no. We're talking about 9/11. Now, let's try to emphasize what your outcome question is going to be. Am I anti Semitic for thinking about 9/11? Am I anti Semitic about the Holocaust? In the worst case, you're trying to derail my entire opinion that this is a fact, right? The Mossad has infiltrated our government and freaking bushwhacked us. Hey, bushwhacked. Ha! Hashtag
That's good. Yeah.
bushwhacked with the
Hashtag
Twin
bushfire.
Towers. Making a
Yeah.
shirt of that.
So,
I
dude.
already did another one. Audit APAC, and the two eyes are the Twin Towers.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it's a new T-shirt on
Nice.
the Man Daily podcast. We were intending to throw that in there, but anyways, Dad. Yeah,
No, do it.
and in essence, what he's trying to do is, oh, I'm going to just discredit you by making everybody think you're the buzzword, as opposed to let's talk
Yeah.
simply about this. And this is the problem.
Something.
And I liked what John Oliver did about this. And I know some people, roll your eyes, go as you will, but he did bring up the concept about whataboutism. We are
Hmm.
talking specifically about Trump. Well, what about Hillary? What about Obama? You voted for Biden, Kamala, fill in the blank. You don't want to
Yeah.
address the matter at hand. It says, okay, so we have steak on our plate right now, and you're already reaching for the second course as opposed to
Yeah.
finishing what you got on your plate. This is the
Yeah.
problem. And this is where you and I, especially I think from an anarcho-libertarian perspective, I'm taking personal responsibility. I'm against rulers in general, but we
Yeah.
have something on my plate and I need to finish it. And I'm laughing at you because you look like a kid trying to say, you know what? I don't want to touch what's on my plate right now. I'm going to go over here. You can't do that. That's
No.
the problem again, because we were saying in chat. this is becoming the new norm for truthers having to deal with, is these people that don't want to be confronted,
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
deflect, they run away, or they try to get a buzzword to get away from being scrutinized.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing we were talking about is I was thinking about this. It's getting challenging because as the time grows nigh, I mean, you want to unite as many people as possible, but then sometimes like the mindset I've been in the last couple of days is, you know what, I just don't care anymore. If you don't want to, and the other thing is, if you don't want to wake up, fine. And God is the only person can wake you up. I mean, I obviously you're not going to listen to me for some reason, but I'm done. I'm really getting really exhausted with the people that still look into the gov. Like, how long do you need to have the carrot? How long are you going to chase that
Take off your
carrot?
training wheels, damn it.
Yeah, take up the training wheels, get off the path. I mean, come on. These people it's so dark. I mean, and it's everywhere. Talk radio, news,
Yes.
politicians, celebrities. There's so much mind programming
Bombardment.
coming on. I'm like, come on, people. And you know, I,
Well, dude, what you just said, this is again, we could read the comment that I made, but
yeah, don't forget that.
it was, set your mind on things above, or be not conformed to things of this
Mm,
world. Set your mind on things above, that you may prove what it is thou good and perfect, and some I've just butchered the last part of it, but perfect will of God. In
yeah.
essence, like you just said, that's what I want to emulate. I want to emulate Christ. How do you do that? What does Christ say? Lay not your treasures in things of this earth, but set your treasures in heaven. Or because moth and dust will corrupt the things that you put in
Hmm.
this earth, you put faith in. In Jeremiah, I think it's 17:5. Foolish is the man that puts faith in man, which is of flesh. Like he's cursed. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. Um, if that's not in our favor of the anarchy libertarian perspective,
Yeah.
dude, that hits on the nail on the head. Is that we're over here saying I might be flawed, but as
Hmm.
flawed as I am, I want to do something that's actually going to merit something in eternity. I may not reach everyone, right?
Hmm.
But I at least bothered to put my light in that dark corner saying, hey, do you need any
Yeah.
help? Because
Yeah.
if I walk on the other side, I'm no better than the Pharisee and or the other Levite that while my brother is bleeding in a ditch. And this is
Yeah.
for all matters. I need to go over and say, is everything okay? Is there anything I can contribute? I don't have silver and gold or whatever, but what such as I have, I will give. You
Yeah.
need time. You need someone to listen to you. Now, granted, I'm saying this with a caveat. Doesn't mean every person who does content creating can do therapy sessions in a DM, especially when you're doing content creating, because then that takes away parts of your time. But there
Yeah.
are people that haven't tapped into their potential of, you're a really good listener. What do you mean? You help walk somebody through their thoughts, and as opposed to going to a therapist that puts them on prescription pills to
Yeah.
process what they're going through, the demons they're battling, you are there and you're giving them, you know what? I'm not that good at talking, but I'm good at listening. And sometimes people who are good at listening often are good at reading. Start
Hmm.
getting in scripture specifically in that area. Well, I need a college degree to help people like that, right?
Yeah.
No.
Limiting
You know what I'm
beliefs.
saying? It's like I don't need the damn degree. I can do it myself. Like
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln didn't have to go to college in order to become president.
Yeah. But
His
that's where
mom
the
is,
subtle,
yeah,
that's the underpinning in this. And I see it too in people. And because I used to have it too. And it's one of my major focuses now to shake it out of people is the sooner you get in the system, the longer you stay in the system, the more you have self-doubt, you do not have
yes,
self-initiative. The longer you stay, it's like these people that go all through the PhD. No, from 5 years old to the PhD now, unless you're a person, but I mean that's what the system does. It doesn't want you to be a free thinker. It will
yes,
always it's
a
training you to raise
conformist.
your hand and do a conformist and am I ready? That's why you get so many people in the system that are like, I talk about people who don't have a medical degree and they do not have, any background, formal education in nutrition or diet and lifestyle, and they are salt of the earth, wisest people I've ever known because they've done the work. See, the
Yes,
system says time is your, cookie, or time is the gold thing. I have 10 years in the system. the real life is, have you done the work? How many books have you read? How many mentors have you had? What have you, oh, but people lose it. They lose it and they look at the degree on the wall and go, oh, this is a smart person. I can't believe we live in a world where we have doctors have seduced people and they don't know, some of them don't want to.
Nations were deceived by their pharmakia. It
Yeah,
says it right
it's
in
so
Revelation 18:23.
crazy. It's
And
so crazy.
and you're right, dude. And that's what I said is that people, they like to reap, pilfer, and parasite off of somebody else's work that did all the heavy lifting. And this has been with
Mm.
philosophy. This has been with, Christianity. As I said before, with Galen's situation, it was his dad or himself that was looking at these schools going, you're literally only joining the school for the prestigious aspect that comes with the name, but you're not willing to implement and or put in the work
Yeah,
to either,
yeah.
build off of what that was already there or actually implement what they said. And when people push you saying you're a hypocrite, they say, well, you wouldn't dare insult the prestige of the wondrous person that created this particular school of thought,
Oh,
would you? And that started to become the thing with Christians as well, is you're
yeah.
using the adjective, they please me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. This is why in James it gives us the charge of be ye doers of the word and not hearers only,
Yeah.
right? Because if they see it, other people want to do it because they're inspired by the faith that's within you, as we get in 1 Peter 3:15. As opposed to all that, like you just said, well, you don't have a degree or a TV show, so you're not smart
Oh,
enough to tell me what to do or think. Or like that, my buddy Jack inside the box, Jack. The minute I play that clip that's calling out how Charlie Kirk's endorsing what's in a book that my buddy's never looked into, the Talmud, you're telling me it's just not true. Have you looked into it? No. Have you watched a documentary on it? No. Then how do you know it's not true? Or you don't like the aspect of conspiracy theories talked under quote my roof. It's your dad's roof because you're
yeah,
living into dad's basement. And I'm not saying that's
yeah,
bad, but if you're a freaking engineer after 4 or 5 years post college, you should have about almost $400,000 in the savings because I know your parents are charging you at least 600,000, 600 whatever per month, right? Let's be
yeah,
real here because I know how his family thinks and how they operate. So it's come to a thing, dude, where people are scared, I think. And because we have the other end of this, well, I get raptured out before it gets really bad, and I'm a
yeah,
lot better than they are because, I volunteer in church and I lead the music and I'm freaking getting in a nice dress suit, right? Because we programmed ourselves. That's what makes God love us, is how we wear our best for him. The guy was hanging out with people with rags, people that
yeah,
had freaking leprosy. I mean, come on, do you see who Christ hung out with? Did he hang? And he condemns this dude. Beware of the scribes and Pharisees that wear robes and all this stuff. I can't remember exactly. I think it's somewhere in Luke, but he's saying don't go after people that look all showy in the profession that they
yeah.
do. A real Christian is almost covert. Wait, you're a Christian? Yeah, baby. You didn't
Hmm.
see it because I look just like you, but my actions are not like you. Right?
Yeah,
Why? Because I'm not from here. I'm an ambassador for the other side. And I'm trying, as you said, trying to be a recruiter, baby. I'm
yeah,
trying to get some people to say, hey, there's a third option. Yeah. And it doesn't involve left, right. It's in the narrow way. And few there be that find it, but I can show you how to get to the eye of the needle, right? Like we got the coyotes in the border. I can show you how to get to the other side, but it's going to be a little rough. Well, how much do I have to pay you? It's absolutely free. He's already paid your passage. The only thing you have to do is pick up your cross,
yeah,
get rid of your wealth, deny Caesar, and that means government, your uniform, serving in the military. And I know this makes people go, oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Everything,
no,
yeah. Give up the material world.
yeah. And it's so hard for people to go, I can't do that. And they walk away like the rich man looking at us going,
Yeah,
are they crazy? Yeah,
yeah.
we are,
It's
but
it's
we know it's
hard.
for a better thing.
The thing of it is, it's hard until the very end when that person has no choice but to give it up. Then they're like, "Oh, I
Yes.
should have dropped this years ago," but too late. You didn't. And I never blame people for that. I mean, because I'm like, okay, you're involved in civic and religious, those cultures. That's
Mm-hmm.
what the world is
Mm-hmm.
made of. And I get it. You can get a job from it. You can get pensions from it. You can get what money from it. You got to feed your family.
College.
I get it. Call it, I mean, I get it, but it still doesn't change the fact of like, hey, you know, but the thing that bothers me is this, and again, I don't ever question people because I got my own challenges I'm working on,
Right, right,
untangle
right.
myself and clean up my own stuff, fix my own problems. But the thing of it is, people I think lose sight of, they either look at it as in or out, on or off. No, you can slowly untangle the webs that are binding you to this system over time. You don't have to go like cold turkey. Just
Thank you.
start pulling one at a time, and over for 4 or 5 years, you get yourself out. I mean, it's, you know.
And dude, it's ironic because when you do start with one area, and once you get a little bit refined in that, another part convicts you, and that might be halfway while you're
Yes.
with this one or the next one, and then you keep going. But again, it's sometimes reading more literature. I watched this. I set aside time to actually pray, meditate on God's word, to actually seek clarity in what I'm
Yes.
reading. And as that happens, dude, it's not even hard because at a first point when, like, so let's say like when you go to a new job, you're talking to the guy that's going to be training you, and you're over here like kind of, yeah, I'm kind of be embarrassed if I do something stupid and blah, blah, blah. But as you start getting it, it becomes easier, and then you
Yeah.
become literally just like one of the other guys, and somebody else comes in and goes, this is way too much for me. Well,
Yep.
don't worry, I know you're thinking only temp, but let me
You're
show
like,
you
I
an
was like, I was
permanent.
just where you were, you know, yeah.
Right, right. And that's kind of what it's like in Christianity. Is like for myself, it was kind of easier as opposed to a lot of people with the whole Christmas tree thing, because my dad kind of cut cold turkey at 6, but he said it was oh, because it's pagan. Never really
Mhm.
elaborated, never really sat us down to explain what that meant. We just always said, oh, it's pagan, but I personally think it was trying to cut and save finances for the family. You know, that's personally my take
That's
because he's
funny.
he's, he's a bit stingy, but dude, I was buying my own birthday presents with my own money, when I was getting to, like, 12, 13, something, whatever years
Wow.
old. I'm like, "Do you realize?" You're like, "Never mind." Like, even buy one of the simple things that I wanted to go get. I had to
Yeah.
save for it myself. So it just, but yeah, it was that concept where if you're going to do something, you need to elaborate. Even if you're just going down to their level, explain to me, what is paganism? Well, it's evil, and, Satan and witches do it, and that's what we don't do.
Yeah.
Okay. I need again, we need more concrete because that's swinging at a branch when we have a root. I want to know, how do you plant this? How is this watered? How do I abstain from having that being implemented in my life? So when I go on shows and I'm telling people and explaining this is what that means, they're like, well, that's, I'm a Kroll. I'm always thinking about you. Don't think about me. I'm a mouthpiece.
He had
Have you ever
Messenger,
watched
yeah.
what's the name of that YouTube series? Kings and Generals.
I don't think so.
It came out a while ago, and it's probably controlled or whatever. But once in a while, I like it because when they're explaining the history of like a battle, they'll
Hmm.
pan up and they'll show the factions of everybody on the map. So this is
Mm.
where the cavalry was. This is where the elephant unit was. This is where So they're breaking down all this stuff. And when they were talking about the Mongol period, when they did a series on this, there was a phrase, and he says it in his British. It's so dry. He says, "And they killed the envoy."
Ooh.
And it started to become a little bit of a trope with the Mongols of stop killing my envoys, because the Mongols
Yeah.
would then come over and slaughter everybody. Because I came in good faith to
Yeah.
just give you a hey, this is what's going on. I would recommend paying me tribute because I'm pretty freaking powerful. Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
You kill the
Yeah.
messenger. It's like that's again, this is what Christ was saying. You sawed the prophets in half, you stoned them, you rejected them from their midst. And what were they?
Yeah.
Mouthpieces.
Yep.
That's all they were saying is, guys, we gotta get back to the source. And they said, shut up.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, that comes down, what it really comes down to is the seriousness of what's going on. I didn't used to see it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
but when you see it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, there's very little time slash no time for dilly-dallying. Get your house in order. Spread the word to as many people as possible to pull them from the fire. I mean, it's a code red, all hands on deck kind of a situation every single day. That's how I see it. And you walk around, and then you walk around, and this is why I can't get mad at people, because I walk by people, or I have friends, they're just like me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, totally oblivious to what's really going down in this world. I can't get angry at them,
Yeah.
because God's grace woke me up. God's grace will wake them up. All I can do is say, hey, did you think about this yet? Or did you hear about this? Try to drop little seeds. Not too many, because you don't want to, rustle a sleeping person, because they're going to wake up and be mad at you.
Well,
Just,
that's what happened with my buddy Jack and his dad. Like, I'd say, did you see this one particular clip, or did you see this? But oh, and I'm like, okay, fine.
yeah,
I was just gently prodding, and again, silent for the rest of the time. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
that guy. Not going to
Yeah.
be that guy. But when asked, I talk, and that still offends you. So it's really come to a thing, dude, where they're being cordial with me, saying, "Oh, I don't really go down that route." That's fine, and I'll shut up too, and in turn.
Mm,
But if I'm asked and that still offends you, then it is truly the truth that you do not want. And if you do not like truth,
yeah.
what did Christ say? If the light of God or the word of God was truly in you, Pharisees, you would understand who I am, because I am truth. I am the light.
Yes, I think
If you
about
were,
that.
again, if you're reading the word and you truly were seeking, I want to know what this means. I want to hide this
Hmm.
word in my heart. Because the more I have the word of God in my heart, the less likely I am to stray, the more likely I am to understand, the more likely I am to pause and reflect before I
Mm.
act or don't
Powerful,
act.
powerful, powerful, Brandon. Yeah, the closer to God you are, the better off you're going to be as you to navigate this sketchy world.
That's I was watching this thing, or rather, I was waking up kind of like groggily, so I put this thing on the side, and it was breaking down the dust to the earth and the thing with the serpent. And again, he was known as the beast of all the beasts of the creatures of the earth, stuff like that. I was chuckling because Mark of the beast, and then
Mm.
also the aspect of dust, and we have the ability to crush them under our heels, right? Christ said this in Luke. I think it was again reiterated. Is it Corinthians? I think this thing was Second Corinthians somewhere. It's reiterated in there that we have the power to start trampling things under with dust, right? And he also tells the serpent, "You shall eat dust for all the days of your life." And that started making me think, Mark, because I said, when have we heard about dust as well? Dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. And we also have heard, dust off your sandals,
Mm.
anybody who rejects your message. So if I'm dusting off my sandals because I've been treading on the food that the serpent eats, the thing of which
Mm.
I was formed of, but guess what? I am of truth now, right? Greater is he that is within me than he that is of the world. My body's a temple of the Lord. So if somebody does not want truth, that means they want the serpent. They want what he wants. They want
Mm.
to eat what he eats. So the thing that I tread on a daily basis on my path of following Christ, here you are. Dust thou art, and to dust thou shalt return. You want to keep playing in your sandbox and loving the things of this world? Then keep doing so. And what does he also
Mm.
say? He who builds his house upon the sand, that house is going to crumble. Now that's not me. I was just going, oh, ding, ding, ding. Oh, okay. It started unraveling
Yep.
this domino effect, and it started making me go, whoa, whoa, thank you, God. Thank you for what you did for me. Because the other aspect, I'm not sure if you watched that clip that was talking about where Christ was crucified, it was Golgotha.
I don't think so.
Allegedly, it means place of the skull. And when David
Mm.
cut off Goliath's head, Goliath, Golgotha, Golgotha,
Mm.
he put the head at the base or in the hill.
There. Oh,
And
okay.
allegedly, where Christ's cross went up, maybe that's what it meant, is that his heel shall bruise thy seed.
Mm.
A little irony is that the unholy serpent seed, the Nephilim, the only war I did condone was against the abominations of things of this earth that are not supposed to be here. Not another culture, not another race. That was the Nephilim offspring and people that they were mingling with, right? Because they want to be part of this. That is what I came to destroy. And on the symbol of the cross, a sprawled out Kaaba cube, that is what I came to conquer. And if Christ was God's word made flesh, as the devil, what are you trying to crush? Truth.
Mm.
So if I can't kill God, but if I can kill one thing about him, his word,
Mm. Yeah.
I win. And he conquers that.
Yeah.
He's got nothing else, dude. He can't pull a trump card. Pun on that. He can't
Yeah.
pull a trump card because he's lost. There, you
Yeah.
can't. The aspect was before nobody came back from the dead.
Hmm.
This guy did. He was for realsies. If you
Yeah.
catch the drift. It wasn't the I had to go consult the dead, do a Ouija board, do a witch ceremony thing. He actually came back, and it was in the flesh because he showed his scars.
Mm.
So God's word, the only way, the only guy to go to pass that firmament barrier, he is the only way we get back to him, right? And what is
Hmm.
he's there's the crystal sea. So you have dust of the earth, and then you have passage past the crystal sea to get to heaven.
Mm.
Now, which one do you want? Because as far as I know, Christ is able to walk on water.
Mm.
Getting scared, fear, the thing that, parasites and demons feed off of,
Yep.
that's what made Peter start sinking. I don't know, but let's say that this, I'll throw it back to you, Mark, after this. But Christ started his ministry with one of the first phases being going in the wilderness. What's in the wilderness? Dust.
Mm.
I am going to fast in the thing of dust, the valley of dry bones, if you
Mm.
will. I'm gonna go out.
Where death should be, and but he
Yes.
conquered it. Is that where you're going with this?
And they used to send the Judas goat. They put all their hands of the sins of the people upon the goat, and then they'd send them out into the wilderness as a sacrifice as to Azazel,
Mm.
right? And Christ goes out in the wilderness. He gets tempted out in the wilderness, right?
Yeah.
From things of this world, right? God's word would justify what I'm saying. No, that's Kabbalah. You're trying to invert it and putting man's interpretation and spin upon it, and or demonic twist on it.
What
God's word says this.
unpack that comment where you're saying were you saying people are trying to spin it? Would you explain that what you're
Yeah,
talking
so
about?
in Kabbalah or traditions of men, when he's constantly condemning this in the Bible, it is in essence, Kabbalah is the Hebrew word for traditions. And in
Mm.
essence, what it is saying is, I'm not going to get rid of God. I believe in God. Cool. So does Satan. Huh?
Mm.
The premise is being, I'm going to make God palatable on my terms. What does that look like? Well, if I'm confronted, and again, like I was with myself, if I'm confronted about the truth of the Christmas tree, one of the first phrases I'll hear, I don't do it for those reasons. God knows my heart.
Yeah.
And in Jeremiah, we
Yeah.
have the verse of the heart is deceitfully wicked. You know it, right? Yeah, you should not be putting the love of the things of this world or the heart first, right? But now, again, he says, whoever adds to this book or takes away, there'll be a curse unto him, as it said in Revelation. If I believe that's the book. So you just literally did this. Well, okay, I know it's a sin, or you're telling me it's a sin because you're telling me the anthropology, the etymology, the symbolism, whatever it is, right? It's not a field that I know, but you've confronted to me enough to make a solid case. But as opposed to saying, I have to look into that. All right, I'll start. Okay, I'll wean myself off. You
Yep.
give the deflection of saying, that's not the God that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's your truth now. You're putting, again, a sophist, sophisticated, where we get the root word from. A sophist would say, that's your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So basically, again, we still have that today. We still have that today everywhere in our culture, and they blame it on the liberals, but it's like, no, this is the same thing. That's my interpretation of how I view that politician. That is my interpretation of how I view this, right? Lovers of
Mm-hmm.
themselves rather than lovers of God. So, in
Yeah.
essence, in Kabbalah, traditions of men, you make justifications for secular things of this world by taking God's word to make these exceptions, excuses, and justifications. Now, I ask you, if the devil did that in the Garden of Eden, did he really say that? Right? Let's look over the fine print.
Yep.
To tempting Christ in the wilderness for, you want the kingdoms of this earth, man, I can give it to you. And what does he say? And every phrase that he gives him a verse, and Christ hits him right back and says, yeah, that's true, but counterpoint, this is where this verse cancels out where you're going with that kind of thinking, because you're only
Yeah.
going halfway with the story. Keep digging or get away from me.
Yeah.
So what are Christians doing? As opposed to what Christ, he gives them back a verse, as opposed to going to the word and seeing if I'm right, like a Bereanian, like they were cross-examining Paul. Don't take my word for it. This is the
Yeah.
word of God. I'm speaking, thus saith the Lord, this book, not me. Thus saith the Lord, this is a
Mm-hmm.
bad practice. Well, what do you have as proof? Well, today we have the beauty of technology to vet what I'm saying is true. Go Google
Yeah.
it. Is this a real thing? And again, I'm not saying like Google
But still, I get your
stuff.
point.
It's yeah, but I'm saying again, this is where we were going back earlier with the other guy's comment. You're telling me I'm doing gematria and this thing and stuff like, no, I'm telling you this is what the occult does. And because we never talk about Baal practice or whatnot, we just say, oh, that's pagan. No,
Yeah.
I'm showing you proof of what this means. I'm telling you how this grieves God's heart. I'm telling you how the practices are this, this, and this. And these are elements that we see within holidays, within our politics, within, soldiery and all this stuff. I'm not talking on behalf of myself to be some weird nut and lose my friends, family, friends, family, and finances.
Yeah.
I came up with that one the other day as I lost my friends, family, and
It's three
finances doing
F's.
what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't give
Yeah.
three F's.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be another shirt. I don't give three F's, and people ask what it is. Again, it sounds bad, but when you ask what the F's are, yeah,
Yeah.
you lose these things, dude, because of faith. I don't give three
Yeah.
F's.
Because
Hey,
the
I
majority of
lost all three
people,
F's because I have faith or whatever, something to
yeah.
that effect. And
I
that's so I'm not sure if that explains it for you, but yeah, Kabbalah
no, that
basically is
does.
saying we're gonna mix what we think of this world, like if we want to become our own God, we have the alchemy knowledge to do so of fire, air, water, and earth,
Yeah.
as above, so below. Yeah, that's what that means, folks. Is that's a Star Rem fan, aka Israeli flag. That is what
Yeah.
that represents. Is we don't need you, God. We could become divine on our own because we already know your word, and we'll tutor you on what it is to be a good person and know
Yeah.
wisdom. And what does God say? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, not your Chakma and your Hermetic Kabbalah tree of life. It's submitting to me because I am Creator God, which means anything you try to do past that, you had to get it from me because I created all the elements.
Yeah. No, that did answer my, that's a, yeah, that's very helpful, Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots to unpack there. I often think about the Christ in the forest with the devil tempting, and I see, and then the other day I saw a comment, and the person, and it's always perplexed me. The person said what I believe. They're like, yeah, the God of this world is Satan. And then
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
like, and then as I kind of contemplate and think about like, okay, well, what are these Christians doing, um, taking anything at this in this world at face value? And I know that probably the reality is they're not really thinking it through fully anyway. They're more, like we do. Human beings, I think, have a tendency to just go on autopilot so many times, or the traditions of men. My
Yes.
father, my grandfather, they've, because it's kind of like this. If there was danger in the world, I think this is what's going through people's mind. If there were danger in the world, my father would have told me, my
Yeah.
grandfather would have told me. But what if they're all, you know,
Being lied
seduced
to
by
in
the
the same
world? Yeah,
vein.
being lied to,
Well, it's
because
like, dude. So, if, as you just said, if Satan is the king of the or God of this world, and you're defending nationalism,
yeah,
I don't care. Spin the roulette of what continent you want to pick.
yeah,
If you're defending nationalism and Satan is the God of this
he
world,
owns all the,
may I ask you a question? If you're defending a portion of this world, and Christ said, my kingdom is not of this world,
yep, yep,
Mark, could you please explain to me, would that be not be defending a quota or a quadrant within that pie chart?
yeah. You're in
And again,
Satan's
this is for
army,
symbolism. I'm
essentially.
showing a pie.
Yeah,
But would that not be defending a portion of the tenets of it's a thing of
yeah,
this world,
yeah. You're a
right?
Satan. You're a soldier of Satan. You know.
Thank you. I'm actually, dude, I'm actually going to be doing an episode SOS Soldiers of Satan,
Oh, good
and
one,
also
good
Synagogue of
one.
Satan as another episode. That's I'm going to do
Well,
an SOS series. But yeah,
good, good. Oh, good. Like a back to back to do double
probably. I
feature.
don't know about back to back, but I'm gonna prep them because God was hitting me. So the soldiers of
Wow,
Satan. So just to re-examine what is
that's a
soldier.
good one.
Look into the early fathers. What you mean, like Martin Luther and Calvin and all? No, I'm talking about Origen. I'm talking about Irenaeus. I'm talking about people I didn't even know whose names were. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And I hate to say it, it's the anarchy route. I not even hate to say it, but I'm saying it's that route where it's like I kind of already had that inner conviction, but once you pick up the book, you start going. So see, the
So
early
sorry.
church was even agreeing with me.
So we okay. You're not. Are you saying okay? So I thought you were saying like the deceit runs deep, but are you saying early Christians were not corrupted, or what are you saying?
So
What are you saying?
the not necessarily corrupted, but they would start seeing little sects forming where
Mm,
again some one of those things I was reading, I was like, well, that's New Ageism. And then there's another thing where they were always combating, like a cynic would write his what is his dissertation of like this is why I don't agree with the Christians and blah 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 blah, and then a Christian apologist, whatever, a thinker you might say, the leader of a church, he would write his counter thesis, and sometimes, dude, we're talking 8 to 9 books
wow.
to counteract. Yeah, I'm saying books to counter what someone else said because it was circulating what this person said, and it made the faith look bad. So this other person would come up and say, "Nope." This is why I'm going to write this, and this is in contrast, and this is why we believe this, and this is how I back it up with scripture. Now, are they always 100% right? No, there's some few points where, again, man is fallible.
Yep.
However, a lot of them also were disciples of the original disciples of Christ, like Polycarp and stuff like that. And this makes you start going, okay, so if you are literally studying under somebody who was studying under Christ, this gives you a little validity on this particular topic. And then who followed particularly you? Like when you look up a lot of philosophers today, like a common theme, because again, I like the concept of bouncing around philosophy, but I hate the concept of philosophy where you're always denouncing God as a core tenet of your philosophy. You know what I'm saying? I like understanding. What makes you think? How do you tick? That's it. It's not like I'm going to follow this and make it my life mantra. I like knowing what's going on in here, right? Because my buddy right now, just not to go too far on a tangent, but his sister-in-law is basically, his husband is getting into this whole drinking thing, and he's describing how bad and depraved. And I said, yeah, but what's the mentality? What was his home life like? And he's like, starts explaining again how bad and how depraved. And I'm like, no, what's possibly the thing that's clicking him going towards that direction, right? Because I want to know how you think. So to veer back, that's why I really am starting to advocate and encourage that people start looking into what was the stance against military service. Why did they believe this? As opposed to just take my hands word for it because you sound like an extreme. No, I'm bringing up quotes. I'm bringing up validation of somebody like Smedley D. Butler, War is a Racket, and saying this guy's a major general. I think he would know a thing or two after 33 and a half years of service. I think he would know a thing or two, and to be convicted to call himself a gangster for capitalism? I think it would behoove us to say, okay, so if this is a guy that dedicated his whole entire life and career, and other people have come forward and stuff like that.
Right, but he was the most popular. Yeah, at the time,
One
he
of the
had
most
so much
popular
popularity.
attorney. Yep. If I may, can I veer into the question because it lines so much before we go into something else?
Please do. Yeah, please do.
Hold on, let me and this is not to throw shade by any means, but and you did see it. It was the clip where the soldiers were on stage and they're starting to say,
is that the one you're talking about? Okay, yeah, I did see that.
That came out, I think, mid 2000s, like 2008, 2010s.
Did it?
Could be a little later.
They're giving
I
back their
apologize
medals.
if I'm wrong. But one of the comments I got, and I don't have to read the person's name, and she wrote, "Why are you here? To spread awareness? If that is the case, then we agree that not everyone understands when they decide to leave home, go overseas, risk their lives, and even die for their home and the home of their neighbors and family." Kind of similar to what you said, right? I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm just right. Okay, I agree.
Yeah, a lot of people go forward in ignorance. They do not know what they're doing.
Go forward in ignorance. That wonderfully.
You can't blame you can't really fault them for that. But go ahead.
And again, that's not the shade that I'm throwing on my inscription. I'm proud of a veteran that has time to reflect and say they're screwing me over when I come back.
Yeah.
I screwed over people over there.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like a hypocrite because while my country's free, we're still oppressed with taxes, this thing, that thing.
Sure.
So she goes on and says that may not be the reason they were sent to fight. There are, in fact, men and women who died with hearts of honor and integrity. The other hand is left to God. Now, I think that's a little bit scary. and it's not, again, not to.
There's a lot going on there.
It's more of what our Protestant priests have told us, right? It's left to God. That it's no, there comes a certain.
I saw that comment, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I was going, okay, yes. There comes a certain point though where you have, again, you're going to put your life, right? You're registering your life in service of a government or an institution, corporation, military industrial complex. You are putting literally your life on the line to say this is what you're going to do. You pledge an oath.
Yeah, you're signing up to do their will.
Right. Careful, you're going to freak some people out doing 666 on that.
Oh, did I? Yeah, my bad.
Sorry, guys. Again, it's a gesture. I know, Mark. I'm just saying. My audience is going to get freaked out.
Yeah, don't freak out.
Yeah. But again, we're saying concisely. That's what we're emphasizing here. But the aspect that the other hand is left on God. It was like, no, you have made the conscious decision that I need money for college. I need to do this, or I'm going to do it for my country. Or sadly, like we were watching that other clip with was it the Key and Peele when they're doing the jogging.
Yes, so funny.
And
Oh,
what did I wrote in the inscription? It says he's not wrong with calling out the poor statistics. Because then here's something, dude. A lot of dysfunctional families, low statistic households, they go into the military, and sometimes it's almost like a family military thing, but they
sure.
have dysfunctional homes. And so you start getting yourself into the military thing, and what does that do? It provides structure, it gives you security, and also, it's a thing of reverence. Everybody loves somebody in uniform, somebody that
Yeah.
has authority, somebody, right? Right?
Yep. Yep.
So, unfortunately, the subconscious thing is almost you're endorsing it because you're thinking, I found my identity.
Yeah, this is where I fit
Think,
in. This is where I belong. Yeah.
right. And you get authority badges, medals, and it's like Pavlov's dog. Good
Yeah.
boy. That's a good boy. Keep drooling. Keep, and I hate to say it, dude.
Yeah.
And
Keep
it's
attacking.
right, but it makes you keep again. It's kind of like, well, people died at this, at this thing. How dare you call it a fast flag event?
Yeah.
People die in the military all the time, and these people don't seem to realize it. Do you know who's making money off of shipping immigrants into the UK and over the border
Yeah.
in Mexico? We don't talk about that. Do you know about the
No.
Banana Republic Wars? I'd highly look into it because you might understand Che Guevara a little bit better. Villain
Mm-hmm.
or victim? Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're going to say villain, but did you
Mm-hmm.
understand how he came to be that? Like the Batman movie, you're only one bad day away from being me.
Yeah.
Like we
So
need to
same with all
start
the terrorists in the Middle East. How did they become? How are they become terrorists? Who's fun and or who's funding them?
right,
You
and we
know.
just take the with official narrative online, or the war on
So,
terror, and the war on terror theology is the new Dies Volt
but
2.0. It's a retro Dust Volt. If God wills it, we have to go over there, defend the whole
yeah.
blah blah blah. No, God said, "My kingdom's not of this world." So there's nothing about a sacred land, sacred flag. There's nothing about a uniform. So this is what I replied.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you read it, but I'll read it aloud
I
to you,
don't think so.
folks. It says, said her name, but were they fighting for the kingdom of heaven or Caesar?
Hmm.
They rendered unto their governments, not God. As the post before this one entails, we aren't supposed to be advocating borders and boundaries. We're supposed to be making disciples of all nations.
Hmm.
As celestial ambassadors and citizens, we, if truly born again, are now saints. The word saints means set apart. Now, behind enemy lines, our flesh and our secular programming tells us that we need to support our country, borders, uniforms, and flags. Christ, my kingdom is not of this world, and set your mind on things above. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. If our focus was on earthly empires and service for kingdoms of earth that are destined to perish before eternity, are we truly focusing on the kingdom of heaven then? I respect per person, an individual. A uniform, as its name suggests, is to lose the autonomy of self. This is where the I Venn diagram, and again, that being, um, is where you can gauge the three groups of an institution, an ideology, and an individual. If one is defending adjectives of either or an ideology or an institution, they aren't independent. So if you're an independent individual, you're now single. This is where you become a bride of Christ because you're saying, you know what? I humbled myself down. I don't want things of this world. I want you to be my husband, right? I want you to take that mantle. So Christ looks for us to deny these things for him, right? I don't hang out with my ex. I don't defend these things anymore, right? I'm yours.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks aren't dying for us. They're dying on behalf of what they were told they were dying for at that current time. Yes, I can respect honor and integrity. I don't respect the system that enforces statism over salvation.
Yeah, I think I did read some of your quote there, a little bit of that. Yeah, well said. I mean, did she reply at all, or no?
No,
Yeah,
but it did get again. And it's not for likes and stuff like that. But I did also recommend some books because I had her number, and she said she actually would read them. Whether or not that actually follows through, I don't
sure.
know. But for me, it's sad because a lot of the stuff that I see on this person's profile, they're promoting all this fear, what's going on in the border, the BRICS
Mm,
alliance, this thing, and I'm over here going, in comparison to eternity,
mm-hmm.
we're going to be chuckling about that almost 200, 300 years in eternity with 1,000 years of Christ. We're not going to be remembering, or we will, but it's like it's not going to be our number one thing that comes to the forefront of our minds is I remember when I was in the military and I was defending this, that, and the other. It's going to be the flag.
Yeah.
It was so stupid. Again, life is but a whisper. Imagine a flag, a country, a uniform, a
Yeah.
medal. You know who invented medals for military? It came. I think it became from small little country North Denmark. Was it Denmark? During
Was
the
it?
American Civil Wars when they started bringing over medals for yeah,
Oh, did they?
yeah, and a lot of them come from Masonic influences with
Well,
that.
and then the simplistic view of it that's crossed to my mind is it's like a little gall. And again, I'm not negating the things the person maybe did, but I kind of, now that we know what a war is, a lie and a racket, it's like a Gollum thing. My precious, my
Yes,
medals. Here's a medal for following really well the lie we told you. It's
right.
wild.
It could be a good my good little goy. Here's a little toy.
Yes.
And my good little goy.
Yeah.
Here's a toy. Now
Here's
go
a
play.
toy. Yeah.
And it's sad, dude. Because
Oh,
what is that again? It's earthly metals, alchemy. It's
yeah.
earthly metals, things of this earth that gives you worth, as
Yep.
opposed to saying silver and gold have I none. I'm poor as hell doing what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna give you what I can. What is that? The kingdom of heaven. It's what's inside
Yeah.
me, man. Granted, I don't have the ability to freaking lay a hand on you and cure you instantaneously. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'll get to that point. I don't know. But what I do have, such as I have,
Mhm.
I will give.
Well, and I'm glad you brought this up again because we talked about this earlier and you touched on this earlier. You were talking more along the sense of a therapist type character or lend an ear to
Just
a
one
person,
avenue. Yeah.
and I what I wanted to say to that, and I'm glad you brought this up again, is what I see you doing is uh sharing deep diving pearls of wisdom from Bible, from all these other places, from history, from places, going giving these to these people. And it's the same, it's your work, it's your talent. Clearly this is what you're calling to do because you do it very well and you do it all hours of of the day and night. What I want to say, Brandon, is what I view the work that you do is it negates the need for a healing session. It negates the need to have someone lend an ear because you cut it off before it even happens. I mean, if
I'm trying. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
to a
think, yeah.
person who is to a person who's going to receive it, I receive it, and I've told you this many times before. I value it,
Right.
and I'm like, okay, I receive it and I value it. Some people aren't going to receive it and value it. That's fine.
Right.
But see
Right.
what I think, and I kind of this is what I think about when I think about deep diving into, say pharmaceutical companies or other types of, other things, whether that's what we did in Iraq, what we did in Libya, what we did in South America in the early 1900s. If I'm going to give that to someone, like you're giving the knowledge to someone else, you may stop someone from making a decision that could cause harm that they might need a lended ear. You
Or
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
like spiritual harm. Yeah. I
It's
think
so far advanced that it's pre-medicine is what it is. I mean,
well,
not
yeah, it's like
premeditated, but it's
start eating healthy and you can avoid
yeah.
getting sick later.
Amen to
And
that. And
no, thank you.
start
Yeah.
knowing history and start knowing them by their fruits. If you know the government by their fruits, it doesn't matter what they say is going to hurt you. You're never going to take the medicine that they offer you. But a lot of people didn't know them by their fruits, and plus they were in fear mode, and the prefrontal cortex went blink offline, and so they could not assess the situation. Wild. But I just want to say that's what I view what you do is like when
No,
you're giving all the symbology, all the esoteric meaning, all the biblical references, you really are helping people put the armor of God on because it's the knowledge, it's the wisdom. And you go out into battle and you're like, tink, 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 tink. No, your deception and lies don't work on me because I've got this
well,
armor on.
yeah, I've got this armor of God, and dude, I think, thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome. I appreciate you.
no, but I think you explained my frustration or my angst once in a
Is that
while.
so? Yeah.
Yes. Because I think my frustration stems from when I read a comment like, "Well, Brandon, we're not all at your level. We can't
Hmm.
all." For me, it's listen. If you were exactly like me, I would be bored out of my mind.
Yeah. And you'd have nothing to do because you
Right.
wouldn't have a consumer of your creation.
Well, not even a consumer. I want a fellow doer, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
good
have to
point.
be with what I do. Like sometimes I go to a
Mhm.
comedy club, like this that Palestinian comedian Samuel
Oh,
Obed. Obede.
Okay, I've probably seen him. I don't remember
Yeah,
him.
I've gone to see him, and he's coming around June 11th again. So I would like to see him again because I'd like supporting. Let's talk
Yes.
about the humor, right? Like, talk about the humor of a real crap situation, right? And the reason I appreciate somebody like that is they're breaking the mold, and they're actually doing something with what they have. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm Palestinian, so I
Yeah.
will speak on behalf of my people. And if it has to be in joke form to get it to resonate or to
Yeah.
seep through to some of these people, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
And that's what people misunderstand, dude, is they think I want them to think exactly like me. Contraire, Monswear. I'm merely giving additional guide rails and context, as Paul was doing, right, with Old Testament, New Testament. I'm doing that with an added bonus of, did you know that that's what this means in the occult with pagans, right? This is what that means
Hmm.
with pagans. Do you know that that's an element with a holiday, with voting, with soldiery or something like that? It hones it in, and this is why, again, you're antiseptic. No, I'm anti ideologies. I'm against ideologies, not ethnicities. And I did that meme, and I think you've seen that before, where I was quoting The Princess Bride, and it says, "Oh, you're anti this," and he's like, "You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means." Right?
Yeah.
Because again,
Yeah.
if you look into what we're going up against, we're constantly condemning Kabbalah. We're canceling out um um what they're doing with the Babylonian Talmud. We're
Mm.
going after ideologies. We don't care about skin tones.
Yeah.
Your culture is like, well, if your culture is again, even American, hence countercultural. Every
Hmm.
culture. Yes, is there American food? Blah blah blah. Yes, that's not the point that we're advocating. We're talking about the ideologies,
The mainstream cultural ideologies.
right, that cause
Yeah.
you to erode and
Yeah.
delude who you are. And I want you, again, as we said before, to be a diehard libertarian. You don't vote. What? That's why the
Hmm.
party always fails, because everybody has a different perspective. Good. That is good. Because if we all agreed, we'd be robots, which is what they want, right?
Yeah.
Conformist
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah.
We want to disagree. The downside is you're trying to create a party on top of this.
Yeah,
That's not
you're trying to take an ideology that doesn't fit where it's
stuff it.
supposed to and stuff it into. I never
And
really
that's the
thought about it that
problem.
way.
We
That's a
we
good
should be
point.
coming to an agora with libertarian ideas. Like, you have this opinion, I have this opinion. Again, as I said before, anarcho-libertarian against the rulers of this world, as that
Yeah.
is Ephesians 6:12 with the Geneva Bible,
Hmm.
1599, 12 years before King James.
Hmm.
Worldly governors, and again, archons going against Nephilim, rulers of those cities and stuff like that. They said, okay, that checks out. So, anarchy in that sense. The rest is volunteer. The rest is individualism. And that is what Klaus Schwab, at World Economic Forum, says one of the greatest threats to our movement
Yeah.
is this concept of libertarianism.
Yeah.
Oh, really? And
Yeah.
again, didn't say party, ism.
The
What's their
ideology.
concept? Because libertarianism is individualism. And if again, you know who you are. You don't become a pawn in another man's game, right? You
Yeah.
have a purpose because now you know who you are. But do you know who you are in Christ? And this is why I always
Mm.
revert back to the verse from Joshua. It says, your fathers, if you want to follow the gods on the other side of the Euphrates as your fathers did, then you do that. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That does not,
Hmm.
again, somebody's like, oh, libertarians are basically Satanists. I read that comment. I was
Yeah.
going, just
Yeah.
it goes right over your head
They've been
because,
poisoned.
well, it's just as you're poisoned because you don't know. Again, I understand because yes, the party does
Propaganda.
bad, and I do laugh
Yeah.
at the party. I'm talking about the sentiment itself.
Yeah.
Is saying, you know what? I can't force you to not go to the abortion clinic, but maybe I can convict you with showing you the beauty of a child and the innocence that's
Hmm.
there. Maybe I can convict you with, not going towards pride, with
Yeah.
maybe showing you the alternative, how that looks healthy. Why? So you know what I'm saying? I can't
Yeah.
force it upon you with the point of a sword, with
But you can
legislation, and
show.
impose my
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
Again, that's what Andrew Wilson said on his show, or when he was on the whatever podcast. Says, do you agree that I would be imposing my way with my vote if I, for this, that, and the other thing? She says, yes. He says, well, that's not what I'm telling you. You're doing the same thing with me. So
Hmm.
he's even acknowledging it. And I'm against it, but he's right with the aspect of imposing. A Christian does not have to impose. He
Mm.
convicts, he convinces, he converts. That is a Christian. That is the tenets of what we're supposed to be doing. But alas, most Christians, what do? They funnel into the to the meat plant on
Yeah.
Sundays.
Yeah.
They hear what they have as they're locked into the remember just the feeding stalls with cows. That's
Yep.
what you do with your pews.
Yep.
And you go right back out and you don't do anything in the world. You don't get controversial at anything. You don't defend Christ when somebody calls, blasphemy. At my old job, dude, I had people apologizing when they said Christ's name in a negative light.
Mm.
And I'm like, I'm not a pastor and I'm not a boss, but they're apologizing. Why? Because even if they don't agree or believe, they know
Mm.
they're offending somebody that does.
Mm. Yeah.
Does that should prompt something of, oh wow, there's reverence with the name, but what does the name mean? Because that's Christ, he's the Messiah. If I am Christian, that means I'm supposed to be emulating the anointed one, right?
Mm.
I know everybody's going to say Cretan, it comes from Cretans or whatever. Guess what? We're living in the Tower of Babel linguistics here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to tell you the best that I can do from right here and now. That's what I'm going to try to do is emulate him as best I can. And if I can be like Paul, not Paul, if I can be like Paul by writing something that's going to convict you, by saying something that's going to convert you, then I'm going to do the best I can with that because that's what any Christian, no matter your level,
Yeah.
try to reach them where you're at. And I'll throw it back to you after this.
Mm.
When C19 was going down, I was going on walks because I was getting tired of being cooped up inside. And I
Sure.
walked, there's like a street over from me. I was walking down this strip. And this girl, she had this little bicycle helmet on her head, but she's on the front part of her driveway. And she was writing with chalk. It says there's no
Mm.
fear in God or with Christ.
Mm.
I can't remember the exact phrase, but as I walked past that dude, I smiled like an idiot because I was like, out of the mouths of babes.
Mm-hmm.
All this chaos is going on, and she's writing something about Jesus on their driveway.
That's a great story.
Well, it just it's saying, do you see, dude? The little kid, the little kid is writing something during all this chaos and whatnot, and I'm walking by. But what did that do for me as the adult? Thank
Mm-hmm.
you, God. I needed to hear that. And you use somebody that also believes in you, that's way younger than me, to inspire me. And again, this is where the beauty of Paul's verse to Timothy, let no man despise thy youth. It doesn't matter how old you are. With the kid that was with Christ, I only have 5 loaves and 2 fishes. It's a kid again. And he feeds 5,000 off of the donation of a kid.
Yeah.
Just it's astounding for me, dude. But yeah, it's the little things from the average person of individualism that terrifies the elite. And I was looking into the word elite. If you're going by the Turkish guys back here, a little Middle Eastern country, El means God. Sorry, means hand.
Mm-hmm.
So elite means to be from a continent or a region. Now, considering it's Turkey and Pergamum's in Turkey, that made me chuckle a little bit because I was going hand of the elite, the hand. Is there some sort of thing where you're the hand of God or you're the
Mm-hmm.
magician? You control things? I don't know, but or sleight of hand. Look,
Yeah.
there's etymology, I'm sure, right there, but we're just
Yeah.
anyways, that was a rant. Sorry.
No, good. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean, when you when you see it more because I think of well because of the specific vein of work that you're doing, you really going deep, and so you are going to get that a lot of that resistance. I mean, I see it a little bit, different people, but mine's more, worldly knowledges, wars, things like that. You're going in more spiritual, biblical, so you're getting that resistance, like, I'm gonna, dance around this, or I'm gonna read, so they can continue on their traditions. And
Right,
it,
or
well,
they
I
or
you
it's
go
too
ahead.
hard for me to quit. It's like a
Yes,
too hard for
yes.
me to quit. And there's some
I'll
people
lose.
like, I went for Memorial Day. They were having something like a couple houses down. So I went over for a burger or so. And the guy there, he had stopped smoking and he smokes excessively where it's almost like $300 per week.
Jeez
So
Louise.
yeah, that's like a thousand,
Wild.
$1,200, possibly more, varying on inflation and or yeah. So I was like, okay, so and after the meal, he was proceeding to smoke again. And I'm not gonna lie, I was hearing progress because he stopped smoking for a bit to get a new car,
Mm,
and I was going. I didn't say anything, but again, I was just going, "Wow, dude, this is." We know for a fact that this hurts you. We know that
yeah.
this what do you call it? This fumigation binky. It's
Yeah.
clogging you up. We know it has a high potential rate of hurting you. We know that they put more and more nicotine in it to make you addicted, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that kind of grieves me because it's like if we knew this about C19 and like 20 in hindsight 2020, if you knew the ingredients and you know what it does,
Yeah.
why did you start in the first place? Because it felt
Mm,
good. And now
yeah.
I'm telling you this is hurting you spiritually. And again, as a saint, if you're at so this is when you know you're in the right. And I know, and this is not to be cocky, arrogant, but
Mm-hmm.
when you are advocating abstinence from things of this world and
Yeah.
political leaders, whether that's holidays, whether fill in the blank, and somebody is who claims to be in the faith and saying you're wrong for saying we got to
Mm-hmm.
stop doing that, and you're giving an explanation as to why, then they're either they might be a terror, and or they have yet to emulate Christ themselves.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not
Yeah.
again because some people are going, well, how dare you question my salvation? I did
No,
all
you're
these things
just
for the Lord.
discussing. Yeah.
Right? Because like you can
Yeah.
be a good person, an average. I mean, dude, for crying out loud, we have Masons that are running Shriner hospitals for kids with cancer.
Sure. Sure.
Well, yeah, bad guys can do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
they all, but you're telling me as a Christian, well, my charity speaks for itself. Charity is one of the fruits, yes. But your actions of saying once you're convicted with it, so this is where we get in James as well. To him that knows it is a sin, it is accounted unto him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you before, the mentor reads the cover, judges the author, never flips the page.
Right.
Now, isn't this what atheists do with the Bible? You read the cover, you're condemning the author, you never flip through the page.
Yeah.
Most atheists, there's a caveat with that. Um, but it's also the premise, because like I've been saying before, if we understood who Christ is, the Word of God made flesh, it starts becoming a little bit more potent as opposed to it's God that came down and killed himself or died on behalf
Mm-hmm.
of all of humanity, left heaven abandoned for 30 years or 3 days he was dead in the tomb. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's never been the thing of God. God is always a living, breathing entity. The Word of God, was it put down? Yeah, it hit the canvas all right, but it came back. And what does he say? Heaven and earth can pass away. My word will never pass away. And for people who are trying to go like, man, where are you going down with this route? You wrote a book, right? So would you say that's your baby, your pet project?
Yeah. That's a good
It's a
point.
part of you.
Mm-hmm.
If I cite from
Came
it,
from
am I
me.
not speaking something that's part of you? What something you thought, something you penned?
Mm-hmm.
Would that not be the same with God? Everything I've ever thought, everything I've ever said is encapsulated in fleshly terms with Abram, the seed, right? This is the celestial seed that's going to redeem all the nations.
Mm.
Pet project, right? My baby. God
Yeah.
so loved this world, he gave his only begotten son. He's not talking about himself. I gave myself. No. So do you understand? The word suddenly becomes alive. It is a breathing entity. And people persecute that because they don't want to actually dig into the truth. When you have
Yeah.
Pontius Pilate, when he's brought before him, what does he say? What is truth?
Yeah. You mentioned that. Yeah.
I think about it all the time, dude. This guy is going probably through massive depression. He's cynically
Mm-hmm.
sitting there and he's just going,
Spiraling. Yeah.
yeah, he's spiraling in truth. It's embodied right there, right in front of you. And because you're looking so much and you're concerned about the things of this world as opposed to looking to things of
Sure.
heaven, he's
He's
rendering unto Caesar and his
yeah.
mindset and
He's talking
mentality.
himself out of it or into it or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And what does Christ do in contrast? He sits there in silent as a lamb brought before, and slaughtered. He
Yeah.
sits there in silence. Why? Because Father, I don't want to do this. If you could let this cup pass from me, he still pushes on. He goes through it. And then he says, Father, into thy hands I commit thy spirit. He's coming
Mm-hmm.
right back to the source. This sucked, but I'm living the word. And to live the
Mm-hmm.
word sometimes means you have to reach pinnacles or sorry, the abyss of crap to reach the pinnacle of success. Right?
Mm-hmm.
As I said one time, it's only through our trials and tribulations can we truly appreciate the sacrifice of Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think most people, like a statist, they're looking at us completely bewildered because they're seeing us abstain from things of this world,
Yeah.
and that's all they know.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
this is the binky. This is
Well, they're
my
so
teddy
seduced
bear.
that, yeah, they're so deceived and so seduced. And the other thing is that the statist, where we're trying to cut bonds from this world, the statist is attaching them more and more,
Yes,
because
they're putting more
every
chains on them.
bond, yeah, that more every chain they get is more fruits of this world.
You just made me
And
think
they,
of that
it's
that
wild.
scene in the Muppets Christmas Carol
Yeah, which one?
with
I
Marley and
don't I
Marley, the Christmas one where they come back as the ghosts,
I don't
and
remember that part, but yeah, what
Waldorf
do they?
Waldorf and whatever, the two
That's
cynics.
a long, isn't that what 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, it's about 30 years, dude. It's actually one of my favorite movies. I
Yeah,
remember as
yeah.
a kid,
That's
I
why
watched it. As an adult, I still chuckle at it.
I
And
love the Muppets. I remember the Muppets in New York, but I don't remember the Christmas Carol one. So what did they have? Chains on
well,
them?
they had what was his name? It was Michael Caine played Scrooge. It's one of the best, dude, because he plays it very
Okay.
seriously as opposed to everybody else is kind of going ha ha ha. He played it so seriously that it's perfect because he balances it out. But when he's getting visited by his old buddies, it ends up being the two cynics on the balcony or the
Mm-hmm.
critics, as the the
Oh, the
the
two older, yeah, the guys,
hecklers. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the hecklers.
And they come back as Marley and Marley as opposed to just Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wearing all these chains and all these boxes, and they're talking about these are the sins of the lives, and all the stuff that we did
Oh,
wrong, and they start singing their little
okay.
song and stuff like that. But as you were just saying, like the Statue of Liberty, there is a ball and chain at the freaking base, or at least
Oh,
a
I
chain
didn't
at
know
the base of
that.
the
Okay.
Statue of Liberty. You are bounded, government mind control. You are
Yep.
bounded to this woman. Again,
Wow.
Mystery Babylon the Great. He's
Yeah.
staring at it going, how are they think? God, how do they think they're free? This is all
Yeah.
elements of paganism, and they're calling themselves Christian?
Mm-hmm.
Mystery Babylon the Great. How do they do it? And I saw on their head written Mystery Babylon the Great. MAGA? Spell it
Yep.
backwards. You know what MAGA is backwards?
Mm-mm.
In Sanskrit, tradition, Kabbalah.
Oh, really? No kidding.
I was going, and forwards, MAGA in Sanskrit means High Priest of the Sun.
Oh, wow.
It's like,
Yeah, I know it has ties to Church of Satan, the fifth level of,
well, yeah, dude, and for me, it's like the more you dig into this stuff, and somebody when I did it live on the show, Rise of the Technocrats, he was looking up to it, and apparently, allegedly, I'd have to find out exact website that he found because I couldn't find it, but he was saying it has something to connect with temple building.
I
I said
wouldn't doubt it.
Temple,
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt
Third
it.
Temple, MAGA.
Yeah.
Dude, it's when you start
There's,
digging into this field, you start seeing literally things
yeah.
backwards. And again, it's not because you say I wrote this in my fictional series I always tell you about.
Hmm.
Because both sides spied upon the other, prejudice, yet at the same time curious of one another's activities.
Sure.
This is what Christians, if you're a good Christian because you don't want to become deceived, right? Wise as serpents, would it be sober and vigilant because your adversary the devil walketh about as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Lions go after the strays, they go after the ones that are straying from the herd, right?
Yep. Yep.
And or they go after the sick,
The weak and the sick. Yeah.
weak and the sick, yes, because that's the easiest one to call out and to attack, right? And
Yep.
they ruthlessly hold on to that. Why? Because if I can get a hold on the weak one, then I can destroy all, like
I can devour it.
I would take you away from the power of what you are. And
Yeah.
a lot of herds, what are they? They're nomadic, like the ecclesia should be. It's not about a building for us, because greater is he that lives within us. It is about the idea, the concept, the ideology, or the faith of Christ
Hmm.
that we accept as his bride. That's our wedding ring. And we're always
Mm.
bragging about our groom because we can't shut up. And if you think that's not relevant, again, Revelation 18:23. Really write that verse down on your fridge, folks. It says the voice of the groom and bridesmaid was heard no longer in thee. So the voice of
Mm.
the groom is Christ, the word of God, and the bridesmaids. What's the bridesmaids then? They're the ones holding the lamps, talking to the
Mm.
sleeping bridesmaids, normies, NPCs, non-player characters for folks who don't know what that is.
Hmm.
They're the ones telling you gotta wake up. And by the time they finally get their oil, marriage is already in full swing. We're at a
Yeah.
marriage feast. And as I said before, Mark, I'm truly at the point I don't think I will be weeping for those who couldn't make
Yeah.
it, because
Well,
at
you've
this
worked.
point we
Yeah.
gave we gave you everything. You had
Yeah.
time, you had resources, we gave recommendations, and
Yeah.
you didn't want to do it. And again, like you just
Hmm.
said when you were talking earlier, come to my class, absolutely free. Again, a post, a podcast, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying I know everything. What I'm saying, people, it's free. It's information. I dedicated everything to it.
Yeah.
Everything. Friends, family, and finances. Everything. And you didn't have time because I was busy?
Hmm.
Get to eternity and say that phrase before the throne of God. I didn't have time. You sound like the servant that didn't use his master's talent.
Yeah.
Right? Try to double that. It's one. I don't have much faith in you, but try it. I'm giving you testing ground right now. I was scared. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you know what I'm glad you mentioned that too. And we were talking about earlier about the people that refuse to look at your posts or think about them or contemplate them. What I've never heard someone say, which I would really appreciate someone saying, is something to the effect of, I see what you're posting. I'm doing the best I can to untie myself, or I'm working on it, or
Yes.
it's
Yes.
challenge, because then I'd be like, it's challenging, isn't it? They're like, yeah, it really is. I mean, again, binding, sometimes I look at my own personal walk with through this world, and really it's by God's grace that I didn't get more chains attached to me, because I have a really great family, great friend group. I didn't ever get deeply involved into government positions or the military. Or the thought crossed my mind in my 30s,
Sam?
maybe I need the military for discipline, but I didn't ever go down that road. I didn't ever get into a religion that's going to distract me from that. So it's all by God's grace. I look back and I'm like, wow. And I didn't have historical, traditions of like mother, father, grandma, grandpa, great, I had a lot of freedom. And so, because sometimes kids are born into this world and they're born into the tradition and they know nothing else. Those are the ones that it's very challenging. That's a heavy burden to bear. I mean, because then
I
you see it all the time. People, you hear stories. When I left the church, I lost my family, I lost my friends, I lost my wife, I lost my job, I lost everything. I have massive respect for a person that has to go through that fire. I can't even fathom it. Have you seen these stories? I know you have. Yeah.
most of us have
You know,
against myself.
yeah, you're living
I
it.
personally
We're living it to
experienced.
various degrees,
But
but
there's two memes that I read. One of them was when I first became a Christian, I lost all my worldly friends. When I started reading the Bible for myself, I lost all my Christian friends.
yeah.
I was going, yeah, yeah,
Bravo.
that's pretty
Bravo.
accurate, my boy. And then the
Wow.
second one, tradition is peer pressure from dead people.
For sure. For
And it's
sure.
true. It's like, well, why would I stop? Because Grandpa did this, and this is what we always used to do. And I'm not saying, dude, that having a warm apple cider in December or something like that is going to freaking
Sure.
purgatory. And again, I'm saying, just the concept is, what are you emphasizing with that tree? Do
Yeah.
you
Why
know
are you
what it
doing
means?
this?
I
Hmm.
don't know what it
What's the
means. I just do it.
symbology? Yeah. What do
Right.
you, yeah.
And then it's like, well, okay,
It's
you
the
don't know what it
origin.
means, but you just do it. Why do you do it? Well, the warm, sentimental, fuzzy feelings that come around with it. But it's pagan and it hurts God's heart, and it represents
Yeah.
regeneration, reincarnation, an aspect that Christians, we were reborn via Christ, right? Celestially speaking. So why are we worshiping when we put a star and angel on top, right? Is
Yeah.
we can ascend like gods. That's what that's emulating.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what it means to me. Okay, that's it's you for me. That's the equivalent of a
Well,
Judas on the a kiss on the cheek or a
yeah.
slap across God's face, because you're basically saying, "Yeah, I know that's your standard, but
Yeah.
it's kind of BS, and I don't care about what you think."
Well, and
That's
what I
your
would say to that
creator.
person, yeah, that what I would say to that person if they said so what it means to me, I would be like, well, that's what it means to the people who deceived you and or your lineage into doing that.
Yes,
Peace, end of story. It may not mean it to you, but they're winning because you're carrying on their tradition.
And
Yeah.
this is, I was listening, I did a show with some guys, and they didn't know I was listening in when they had this group, but they were saying, like, Kroll's saying all these, pagan traditions and stuff like that. And they weren't trying to throw me under the bus, but they were saying, I think we should embrace the pagan ways one last time, because that's what these only country that starts with an I, ends with an L in the Middle East.
Mm,
This is what they're stealing from us. And I was going,
mm.
okay, you guys don't get it. They like that you're doing traditions because it is
Sure.
literally what they do. And that's the problem, is that you guys, again, sadly, you're doing sensationalist content. You're putting out conspiracy stuff just for the sake of putting out conspiracy content.
Yeah.
But you don't understand why they do it. You don't understand what they believe. And so again, I'm pointing at them because they're more morally depraved and or incompetent than me. I don't have to take responsibility. I don't have to do any of that.
Mm,
I can still participate in things of the world because I'm not as bad as them. I'm
yeah.
only on the fringe. I'm a good witch. I'm a fill in the blank. And I'm over here
Yeah.
going, no, because if you give, I think that there was this other phrase, you give the devil an inch, he'll become your ruler.
Sure.
And that's kind of what I'm seeing, is saying, guys, you missed the whole point. What
Yeah.
I'm advocating, it's not a meism, or, I'm telling you, this is what the Bible says, and God has given me the gift of revealing hidden manna with this particular field of study, of connecting the dots and showing you this is what it means. Okay. So therefore, if this is bad, right, we need to start doing better ourselves, right? We prune
Hmm.
ourselves before we take the, right, what does he say? Got a speck in your own eye, you're about to take the beam out of your brother's eye. This is what I'm talking about, is you still got it yourself.
Yeah.
If
Yeah. Think about
anything, your
that.
character now is so contrary and emulating to people that they start going, you are nothing like them. You're like the complete opposite. That's good, right? You're a bit of an anomaly. That's good, right? Well, you're not like a mega Christian, one of the mega churches. You're not like one of them. That's good, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it sound like I'm living for Christ? Like, yeah, the Christ that you read about, he's good, right? Yeah, he says this, right? Yeah. And that's why I was writing the inscription today. Do you think God, who in Genesis, first book, first couple chapters, when the first man is ever killed, I hear your brother's blood crying from the face of the earth.
Mm.
That the God that says 7 things that he hates, one of them being hands that shed innocent blood. Another one, that he advocates for the widows and orphans. What is usually a statistic of people who become widows and orphans, Mark? The victims of
Um,
war.
oh, yes, of course. Of course. Of course.
Statistics. I'm not saying there's not a disease, or it's
Right.
a personal ailment, an accident, but I'm saying statistically, does
Yep.
that claim a little bit? Yeah, yeah, I'd say
Good
so.
point.
So if this is God, and your blood is it has a tracking device, right? It's it's
A
it,
homing signal, homing beacon.
it's
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
celestial currency of life that your creator put in you.
Hmm.
You think he really doesn't care about your actions of what he puts in you, right? He breathed
Yeah.
life into you.
And what you do
Right, and
affects
what you
him.
do
Yeah.
with it, because your body, again, if you're truly set apart, if you're truly a Christian, you want to start living the word.
Hmm.
And what is it called? The living word of God. So if you want to live the word of God, you got to start emulating the word of God.
Yeah.
That is what it is to be a Christian. And that it prompts, again, as it says in 1 Peter 3:15, I cannot emphasize that enough, that they ask of the faith that's within you. Because you're so countercultural, there's something there that makes me go, I see what the world's doing, and I know in the original Greek, we would, I'll follow the god of this city, and then if I move, I'll follow the god of that city, or
Yeah.
I'll follow it because it's popular. A Christian starts going, the world behind me, the cross before me. If I have to give up everything to go down this path, that's worth it. But why? It's about death, isn't it? Yes, but in contrast, this is what I see, is
Hmm.
that a religious person is willing to kill for what they believe in. A Christian, I'm willing to die for it.
I saw that. Yeah.
And that means dying to self daily, right? To myself. I'm
Hmm.
crucifying my own flesh, not by piercing it. Christ did that for me. Thank God. Thank
Hmm.
God he did that. But spiritually, individually, I got to do some pruning on myself.
Yeah.
And like you just said, Mark, that pruning, the more I kept working on myself, the more my friends left me, like Job's. And when they did come towards me, what are you, you're doing it wrong. You're falling off the bandwagon. What do you mean?
Hmm.
Voting, it's neither here nor there. No, no, these are things that we need to start abstaining from. And it's funny that the young guy is advocating this, the guy that looked up to you as mentors. You're
Hmm.
now telling me I'm wrong because I'm going too extreme, too radical. No. What does it say in Revelation about the lukewarm churches? You're neither hot nor cold. I will spit you out.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if being a Christian requires being radical, okay. And I'm not sure, did you watch the
Yeah.
show Andor? No, you don't watch TV. Anyways,
No, but and I try to stay away
there's
from those shows, but I appreciate your comment on it. You mentioned it before. What do you guys
there was a
say?
scene in the Andor thing, and the Saw Guerrero guy, he's like the extremist of the rebellion, and
Hmm.
he's a little bit more violent with his means, more guerrilla warfare. And he's talking to the kid, and he says, "Revolution is not for the weak. We have to be radical," and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's it, because spiritual revolution,
Yeah.
you do kind of have to be radical. It is
Yeah.
not for the weak. You
Hmm.
you are daily going up against things of this world, because suddenly you realize I'm born in this world, but I am an ambassador and celestial representative of that one. My citizenship is in heaven, as we get in Philippians 3:20. Again, I'm citing
Hmm.
verses because I want people to cross-reference what I say, not with me, the word of God, okay?
Hmm.
This is, again, the ambassador phrases in the New Testament, look it up. So if I'm supposed to be representing Christ, right? Does that make me Christ? No. But it's the aspect I am striving to emulate this. Well, you're flawed too. Yeah, hence why I keep pointing you to Christ and I am condemning the things of this world.
Hmm.
That's, you don't seem to understand, because like I was telling my buddy, just because I accept Christ does not eliminate me from being a sinner.
Yeah.
The aspect of what he looks for is, again, I look at the hearts to see if they really love me. I'm looking at that because I hear a lot of people saying, I love Jesus, I love God, but you're supporting
Hmm.
deportations.
Yeah.
We're supposed
Well,
to
and
make
then
citizens of all nations. Why are you advocating?
yeah.
Well, they're violent criminals. Have you met 70,000, whatever it is, all of them? Have you met them?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're stereotyping all brown skinned people or Hispanic last names in that category?
Hmm.
Well, no, like so
Well, and it's the same thing going on over there with in Gaza. They're like
thank you. Yes. Yep.
totally turning a blind eye to the fact of like, okay, those are, from my understanding, a lot of those are Christians over there. They're brown skinned Christians. I'm like, what in the world are you Christian Zionists doing in this country? I'm like, you guys have lost your mind. I just am in awe every day. You know what it is? I'm kind of in awe of the people that listen to the government for healthcare advice during the COVID in the same way I'm in awe of Christians to going like, yeah, go do whatever you want to those people. I'm like, what is happening in this world? Where am I living?
This is I think, dude, personally speaking, because I truly think we're encroaching the last days, or we're already in them. Is that we're starting to see the separation of the wheat and tares.
Hmm.
People don't seem to realize is that when you're harvesting, what does he say? He says, "You want us to take out the tares? No, leave them. Why? Because we're collecting the wheat, the harvest. The tares, they're going to stay there, because what did they used to do in the Hebrew culture? They used to burn whatever was left, all the stems and whatnot, and then they would till it, right? And every 7 years they'd let the land rest to, like basically fast, the land fasting. It
Hmm.
basically would fast for a year. After every 7 years, they would do this, but they would burn it, they would purify it, and all the tares would burn up as well.
Hmm.
So, what is the wheat doing? I'm ready to be extracted. I'm not saying rapture, but I'm ready to go, right? Because the kingdoms of this earth, they need to be purified before the kingdom of heaven can come down. He said last time, I flooded it. Next time, it's
Hmm.
going to be fire. Whoa. Yeah. So here's the thing. If everything's going to be freaking on fire down here, why am I going to defend it with my life's blood, the thing that God gave me, celestial currency? And once I've acknowledged that He is my Savior, right? Not statism, my salvation.
Hmm.
If I want to start living that, I have to start practicing that. And it's going to seem radical. It's going to seem completely out of the norm of what somebody's used to
Yeah.
hearing, because that, I hate to tell you, is Christianity.
Yeah. True Christianity.
Thank
Not
you.
not the watered
Thank you.
down. Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. But again, I always throw a lot of shade, so I will throw some praise here.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten those DMs that you just said, is that you've changed my life.
Mm. I know. I
And,
imagine you
and
have.
it must be about 30 to 40 over the last 5 years I've had. Again, wow. And the ones that are silent, okay. But it's
Sure. Yeah. How many didn't you? Yeah. You. So you
yeah,
get
yeah.
you. Yeah. How
But
many? How many felt that way and didn't send it?
well, then again, I have all the other ones that I've blocked and I went full stop
Right.
with that.
So
They'll
so you
never
got
know.
the
It's
DMs
what it is.
of the people that say, hey, yeah. Well, I bet you they probably say, hey, you changed my. Thank you very much. You changed my life. And oh, P.S. By the way, I also hate you. You know, kind of a thing like you ruined my life. You changed my life and you ruined my life. But anyway, continue. So
You
you get the
bastard,
D.
you ruined my life.
Yeah. You.
Yeah, well,
Meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me and the worst thing that ever happened to me.
it's a blessing and a curse,
It
as Monk
is. It
always says.
can be.
That and that, dude, it's truly what it is. But it's heartwarming when you read that somebody for over a year or two, or they've been going through, they're in the little text that they send you. I've been going through this, or I felt like I was failing in this aspect as a dad, or whatnot. And reading the book or listening to your shows has changed the way that I start viewing the world or start
Mm,
seeing things. And for me, dude, that's like you just donated $1 million to my spiritual
yeah.
heart. That's
Yeah.
literally what that feels like. Is what I gave up is bearing fruit for somebody else's life that
Hmm.
I'll never see. And I'm again in Andor. He's saying like, "Why are you doing this rebellion? What's in it for you?" He says, "What's in it for me?" It's like the thousand sunrise that I'll never see, but it's for my the grandkids and stuff like that. He's a
Yeah.
beautiful speech, and I'm like, yeah, it's for the sunrises I'll never see or the people I may
Hmm.
never meet until I get to the other side. But
Hmm.
imagine that moment, Mark, where somebody's saying, "I know who you are," and they run over and they give you a hug, or you automatically just know. Let's just say that you're just like, "I did that for you." Yeah, that is
Yeah.
ecclesia,
It
dude.
fills your cup up again.
Yes, it's saying I inspired somebody by dedicating my time towards him,
Hmm.
right? And again, that's similar to marriage. I want to give 100% in this, and I'm going to give you some of my time, right? Because I want us to have a better connection. I want intimacy. I want to have
Hmm.
intimacy with you, right? And as I've said this before, is that any partner in life can either be an anchor or sail. They can either hold you back or push you farther than you ever thought you could go. This is the same thing in Christianity. You might meet a churchian, they'll tell you, no, no, don't follow him. He's a little or you say, you know what? Raise the sail. Why? There's no wind. Try it. Throw your net on the other side.
Hmm.
Here, right? This is the premise. Is there may not be anything that I visually see at this time, but I'm going to invest and I'm going to start doing it anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm
Like
inspired and called to raise my sail, even though there's no wind yet. Yeah, I get it.
right. And I think have you ever watched the movie Facing the Giants?
I don't think so.
Worth it. It's a Christian movie.
Is it? Okay.
But it was the Kendrick brothers, and there's a thing where the coach he was getting talked to by this old guy that every day he goes by the high school lockers and he's just praying for all the kids as he's walking down there. That's all he does. And he's having this moment and he's saying, I'm really worried about the game and stuff like that, and I don't feel like the group's doing anything. We're just a sucky team. And he says, you know what? I once heard a story about these two farmers, and basically they're having a bit of a drought and all this stuff was going on, and one of them started praying saying, God, please send the rain. The other one started praying, but he also started tilling the soil.
Mm.
And the other one, when the rain finally happened, one guy's crop grew, the other one was over here saying, what's and he said the takeaway of that story is you got to start prepping for the rain even if you
Yeah.
don't see it coming, right?
Yeah.
And it's because as a Christian, I don't know when his return is, but I want to keep prepping. I want to keep doing. I want to keep
Yeah.
advocating for what I do believe and what I do know is true, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you might interpret it as radical. You might interpret it as narcissism as opposed to enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's all subjective.
Right, right. And you might see it as, oh, you think you're a know-it-all because or better yet, like my buddy Stancio, like for the debate thing that we offered him, um, oh, you're wrong. Eventually, you'll come around to see it my way. You'll get there
Ooh.
eventually. And I'm like, okay, so
Yeah, like help,
that's not
help me get there. It could change my mind,
right. It's
that's what
like,
a
well,
debate
come
is,
talk, come
you
let
know.
us reason together, right?
Yeah, but he
Our
didn't
Amos
take you.
3:3. How can two walk together unless they be of the same mind?
Yeah,
That's kind of what I want, dude, is not for people to agree with me 100%.
yeah,
I don't want followers. I want fellow doers. Fellow
yeah,
doers is cool because I endorse that immensely because people seem to think in this day and age, followers is what makes you popular. Views and likes are what
yeah,
makes you the person, the be all end all and know it all. And I'm over here like, doesn't mean all that much to me. If anything, I laugh a lot of times at seeing
yeah,
that because
yeah.
that is what people are emphasizing. It's digital. For crying out loud, people, it's digital.
And it could be fake. It could be purchased. It could be
Why?
whatever,
Yeah, it's like a digital is the equivalent of a whisper in the wind. It's a
Yeah,
art. It's
yeah,
dude, life is but a vapor.
yeah,
Why would I invest in that? Because that means nothing. What means something to me, dude, is somebody saying, "You want a pitcher of water?" As I'm over here pruning something in the field,
hmm,
right? Or somebody coming over and saying, "Hey, you want me to get the other half of this from picking the apples or whatever?" That is what
hmm,
it means to me. It's just saying, someone else is coming to do something.
yeah,
I'm not sitting in the hot sun doing all this by myself. And again, supporters, thank you, because that's genuinely what it feels like when you get donations. Is thank you, God, that
hmm,
somebody sees
acknowledgement.
people or
Yeah,
they're being fed by me doing something. I'm not
yeah,
perfect by any means. I'm flawed, but it's the aspect that we're keeping it going without
hmm,
submitting to a 503 church or
yeah,
statism or loving the things of this world. That is what I'm happy about, dude.
yeah. And you're doing the work that you were called to do. You didn't turn. The call.
Well,
Um,
C19, dude. Like I said, my domestic life was the battleground of boot camp. And when I
hmm,
saw this internationally, when I saw this at the church, I said no. I think honestly, that's I wrote another song, and then I didn't even finish it. It's just the chorus is there just has to be more, than all of these stupid things we're fighting for. And
hmm,
that's kind of for me. I was looking at what's going on is like we're focusing on stupid things. We're scared
yeah,
about more about an invisible virus than we are about our holy divine God that we can't see but we know exists.
yeah,
Right? And do you see what you're emulating with the world with fear as with a mask or burqa?
yeah,
And I'm not trying to throw people under the bus with that. What I'm
right.
emphasizing is a bandit, mask, mask, mask. You're hiding your identity.
A
ICE right
muzzle.
now.
Yeah,
ICE, why are you hiding your faces if you're
yeah,
doing the law? If it's good, why are you hiding your face? Well, I'm scared about retaliation. Oh, you're scared about retaliation. Did you hear what you
hmm,
just said? Because you're enforcement. N to go into force. One of the first part of your job description, the only one of the few job descriptions, force meant of the mind. You're forcing your will upon somebody else's mind, right? And what are you going to tell me? Well, it's not me, it's the law. You got a problem with it? Talk
hmm,
to your politician. So you're an autonomous robot that does the bidding of the state and
yeah,
you don't have any opinion or
yeah,
objectivity of your own? Well, the first order for any soldier is to obey all orders. That's not the words of a free man. That is the
yeah,
greetings of a slave.
yeah,
So when I'm seeing this dude is like, if you look at the world right now, has masks ever been a good thing as opposed to when you're in a sandstorm? Most exceptions. It's never been that good. But when I saw that in 2020,
yeah,
it convicted me to my core, dude, that I said, the preacher's not talking about it. This person's not saying anything
yeah. They're
about it.
skirting
Alex
it.
Jones and all these other people, they're pointing in all these directions, but no one's honing in on the source. I don't see Ben again. I tried to do Daily Wire, and I applied to Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA gave me some dumb schmuck lower on the rung and never got back to me. And the Daily Wire, you're not what we're looking for at this time.
Oh, you were going to make content for them, or do, or
I
be a
was thinking,
content?
a perfect libertarian perspective. You get the centrist
Sure,
thing. And dude, I have the gift of articulation, right?
clearly, yeah,
I have the gift of writing.
yep,
Okay. I like getting dressed up in nice suits, as you see all these people get. And I also, what I've, again, this is of God, but I'm chuckling. If I had the technology backup support as all these organizations do,
Sure, a team.
I
Yeah.
I've grown to 3,000 like 400 followers on YouTube within a year.
Wow, yeah.
Within a
Yeah,
year, not a penny or dime in advertising, and it
that's
sucks with some of the
impressive.
content. I'll admit the sound is completely off. It's really
Does
bad.
it? Yeah.
But imagine if I was funded and
Yeah.
people created clips and they were doing all this stuff. Do you think that would cause a movement?
It would, but
Yes.
you'll never get funding in this world to
Thank
make the
you. And
content you
so
make.
I'm looking at the mercy of begging at the ecclesia. And again, it's
Yeah.
not about the followers, but I'm chuckling. Imagine if they accepted me and I was brainwashed and gullible. Because that one of the things they asked with Daily Wire, my profile, my social media profile.
Yeah, what they
Now, if you're a Hezbollah, Mossad, influence, government, whatever, and you start seeing some of the stuff I post, what are you gauging?
Oh, so
I'm
are
not
you
gauging the followers. I want to know what you talk about.
what are you saying? They looked at your social media profile
Well, that's
bio
one of the
and
things when you're applying for the job, they were asking about your social media account so that they could
uh-huh.
go look up and see what you talk
Oh,
about.
yeah, so they could dive in. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and again, that
They
was
gotta vet
before
you.
all this Gaza stuff, before I was emphasizing
Sure,
particularly on this topic. But what did
sure.
that do? They were like, oh, you probably talk about things I'm not doing.
Yeah,
Why?
they had to build a profile of you so they know what they're getting, who they're
Right.
tying their.
What they're tying themselves into. But
Yeah,
that's just the thing that makes me chuckle because they're like, oh, when they look on your social media when you go to these jobs. True,
yeah.
and that's fine. I'm not gonna lie. I got turned down from several jobs last year. Maybe they did look me up online. They got freaked out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
I have a feeling you wouldn't change anything, just like I wouldn't change anything that I've posted, you know.
I can't change, dude.
Yeah,
That's the problem. Even when I go to interviews, I'm blunt honest.
yeah.
It's come to the point where it's like this is how I genuinely think about that, and
Hmm.
I'm going to say it. So when you're
That's a
getting
noble way to
something
be.
right, so when you're getting something like Daily Wire and stuff like that, like I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole now,
Yeah,
or even PragerU.
yeah.
That was actually my third option I was considering.
Hmm.
I was like, you know what? You guys really you're only looking for dumb schmucks that believe the narrative that you already have, especially
Yep.
women, and you just want to put them on there because then again, it's just like with TV. It's a pretty weather
Yeah,
girl.
Fox News. Yeah.
Yeah, Fox News, right? You got the nice breasted woman. She's wearing
Hmm.
like a little cross on her neck. She's a blonde, dirty, brunette, whatever, a little bit petite. This is what they
Yeah.
recruit, and they do that because subconsciously it's like, well, my side is pretty, and my
Yep.
side is organized, and my side is
Intelligent, well spoken, blah blah
right,
blah. All
right.
the things.
And I'm over here going, yeah, no, a lot of these people, they're just recruiting them because all they do is they're recycling bins.
Sure, they're
They're
talking
recycling
heads.
bin
Yeah,
pundits. And when somebody speaks outside of the norm, they cut the funding, they fire the
yeah,
employee, right?
yeah,
This is the constant pattern that we see. So why would you not want somebody that's outside and tied to all of that, like myself? Because that would be a threat to the system and the official
yeah,
narrative, the
yeah.
community standards of what we
Yeah,
prove
they have
populous with.
they're a little cultish too. I mean,
Yes,
they have to bolster the talking points in the narrative. I listen to Ben
bolster.
Shapiro.
Yes,
Yeah,
buttress and bolster
you
the
buttress
talking
and
points.
bolster. Yeah, I don't listen to talk radio anymore, but sometimes I'll tune in, and it's so weird listening to whether it's Clay or Buck or Ben Shapiro. Their narrative is they're basically word wizards. They
Yes.
dance around the topic. Like you listen to Ben Shapiro, he says nothing bad about Israel, and
Hmm.
I'm like, how do you not see that as a red flag? Like you said, every person on earth a fall is going to fail to make you do
Well, it's
good
like, okay, so
deeds. Like, what's going
let's
on? It's
break
so
that
red
down for a
flag.
moment, if we may.
Yeah.
Shapiro, you've always got problems and critiques of the American culture, policies, and whatnot, right?
Hmm.
But you never have anything about your own country.
Correct. Amen.
So when I'm looking at
Amen.
I'm going to be doing a mock
Huge
thing
red
on
flag.
Tim Pool. Tim Pool just did saying, you guys are all Israel first because when you wake up every day, you blame Israel for this, you blame Israel for that, you blame Israel for that, blah, 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 blah. And he's going on this whole rant. My mock, I'm gonna come, yeah, I'm gonna do it the
Yeah.
radio guy again. I'm prepping it, so stay tuned, folks. You
Okay.
might see it before this comes out. But yeah, and he's talking all these stupid things. I said, "What a good goy with that little beanie goyim
Yeah.
yarmulke you're wearing.
Yeah.
You're saying all this stuff, but it's like, have you read the Talmud, buddy?
Yeah.
Do you talk about that on your show? No? Okay. Have you read about the USS Liberty incident? Do you care about our veterans, right? You're
Mhm.
conservative. I would assume you would, right? No? Don't care about
Mhm.
that? Okay. The thing with 9/11, have you actually looked into it? I'm assuming most of you have, but you've been told don't talk about that and tell everybody who thinks like that they're stupid. Like you said, they're pushing the main narrative to anybody who thinks like that. Oh, you're that. And you get people like my buddy Jack. So when I'm telling you this is what Charlie Kirk is endorsing, you get upset because what does that do? I'm a Christian conservative. Ah, but now what did I just hit? Your
Mhm.
first adjective, conservative, is what you identify with. So when somebody scrutinizes your word wizard Shapiro or Kirk or whoever, you get upset at me because I'm insulting your what?
Yeah.
Idol, false
Yep.
prophet, your
Yep.
ear tickler, your soothsayer, your political pundit soothsayer. This is what you don't like now because it is an idol before the gospel,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's what I don't like about Shapiro.
So
Is you can
wild.
criticize my own country that you're not even from, or you're right, but your own country. I'm American. I hate taxes. Taxation is theft.
Mhm.
I hate politics. I hate lobbying. I hate, I can go out on and on and on. It's my country. I can complain if I
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah.
not your country, right?
Yep.
But you don't have one thing you don't like about your own society? Is it like what? You don't like the food? Something.
Yeah.
Give me something you don't.
That's
The
well, it's
fact that
fun. Go ahead.
you're 100% solution
Yes,
absolutionist with your own country, like you just said, that should be a red flag.
it should be. Well, and the funny thing is, if I was in the Hasbara, the Mossad, the media machine,
Mhm,
I'd be
mhm,
like,
mhm.
it's a phobe. You know what it is, Brandon, to me? It shows extreme arrogance, and also we don't care whether I mean, that's all it is. No, it's extreme arrogance, which is fitting because an intelligent agent would be like, we've got to make it more real. We've got to
Mhm.
show something, and
Oh,
they
they just did
don't.
that.
What do you mean? Which
So,
what?
Mint Press Media, look them up on Instagram.
Okay.
He just
Okay.
released that Daily Wire releases video that's AI generated of alleged humanitarian aid reaching the Gazans.
So they released a video.
It
Okay,
was
what do you
AI.
say? Oh, so they released a video showing aid going in, and they were like, "Here, we're letting it in." Oh, no kidding, it was
It's
AI.
AI. It wasn't even real. And the fact that again,
Wow.
Daily Wire is trying to make themselves look good, but you had to use AI to do that, or you didn't vet it more closely.
Ooh.
You know
So it's a black eye towards them.
Right.
Well,
Well, it's like you're trying to paint yourselves to look good, but you had to use fictional images in order for that to be accomplished.
yeah.
Dude, it's just like
Well,
we were talking about human shields. There are Israelis admitting and news pundits over in their country that they're using Gazans, Palestinians. They
sure.
are using them as human shields. And yet I have yet to see one photo
Me too.
of the Hamas doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? They have to make it up, or better yet, whatever you're accused of,
Yeah.
boomerang it back and say
Yeah.
it's them. They deflect it, say it's you.
Yeah.
They never take personal responsibility.
Well, and you know what I think will happen, and because that's a huge red flag to me, and I'm not the only person that sees it.
Mm.
What really will happen is pride goes before a fall. If you're so arrogant and so prideful that you refuse to look at any of your, and it is happening, they are falling so hard, and it's going to be so their crash is going to be of epic proportions. They're because they're so arrogant and they're so high on themselves, they cannot see their flaws. And what is it that we learn about, like the art of war type things? If you do not know yourself, including your flaws, you're going to
Yes.
lose. Yeah, and all they think that's been propping
Yes.
them up is extreme amounts of money and extreme amounts of technology and war. And over
Censorship.
time, pride and arrogance, they don't care about how much money you have. The world is waking up. It's wild to watch, and it's going to
Well,
be
I think
epic.
I
It's going to
think
be
part of
epic.
it is controlled when you get like Ian Carroll and Candace.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, but it gets controlled in such a way that we're part of you guys, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what is it also pushing with this Netanyahu Trump separation? Because Trump literally pushed out
Yeah.
and pulled in his chair twice.
Mm.
We know he is the highest APAC acceptee of all
Yep.
time, right?
Yep.
So why would he turn? He's not turning. The
Mm.
narrative, like I said, that they want to do is they're going to make it look like Netanyahu's went off the chain.
Yeah.
Trump's or Americans, we're going to go in there and clean it up, right?
Yep.
It might take about a year and a half because we have nuclear warfare and all this stuff now. Maybe, you know, whatever, overthrow that government or start to fix it
Yeah.
how it should be. The downside is if Armageddon goes down, as we, you know, like, oh, Masons wrote the Bible. No, but let's say
Hmm.
Armageddon goes down and Christ doesn't show up. Do you manage the amount of carnage and bloodshed? And let's say you almost nuke the entire Holy Land. This would send evangelicals through the roof and reeling,
Mm.
going, what's going on? We're going to become digital citizens, man. It's not, it's about
Hmm.
finding God within. It's not about all that stuff with the Holy Land, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
we were right. Those people kind of screwed up. But what are they doing? They can ship them over to Ukraine. That was the war that started right before this one, right?
Hmm.
Go back to the homeland, right? You got what you
Yeah.
wanted. We wanted you to look over here, though. So when we want to go back over here, that's what they're doing. I would
Yeah.
actually start looking into building projects within Ukraine. Honestly,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if there's a lot of construction going on there because that's where they want to go back to, right?
Sure.
And that's right across
Well,
the aisle from freaking Turkey, aka where the Pergamum is and their throne of Satan,
well,
right?
anyway, I guess, yeah, I definitely see there's something they're almost sabotaging. Like you said, I can see them doing a supplant, kind of like, but the thing I don't understand is, but what about the third temple? Didn't they want to build the third temple there? And then isn't that where they wanted to, rule the world from? I mean,
So
if
here's the
they go to
thing.
Ukraine,
Here's the thing with that.
yeah.
If Christ is our third temple, right?
Well, I mean,
And they're
from their perspective, the
right.
physical
Well,
temple
no,
from there. But go
as a
ahead.
Christian, Christ
Okay.
has let us now. His Holy Spirit indwells
Dwelled.
us now as
Uh-huh.
his as the temple. Physical structures. Again, this is why I'm gonna go after little seasons. I'm sorry,
Right.
but physical structures have always been affiliated with things of this earth, and Pharisees love physical things of this earth. Physical,
Right.
physical, physical always means something of earth. We should not be emphasizing anything that emphasizes that.
Right.
Spiritually speaking, sorry if you disagree. Just stating the
Right.
facts. Um, so if you're going to be the AC, the antithesis, right? Yes, you could build a third, or you could substitute what Christ did. I want to control your body. And they're saying by 2030, they could
Oh.
put in nanobots with a certain AI built
Oh.
in V word,
So they would maybe indwell the.
and they
Oh
can grow
shit.
you. Now, here's the thing, Mark. In Revelation, it says there is a separation of the 144,000, which is the natural. What is it? What is it? The gene makeup that you have?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, anyways,
The DNA or oh,
yes, that your DNA, your double helix, all this stuff, and it spells out Yahweh
yeah.
when you look into it, your creator's signature. Here's the thing: why did they call it Operation Warp Speed?
Well, I think I saw this on one of your posts. Yeah, when you
Huh?
change the word, when you remove the
Well,
P's,
there's
right?
War Seed, yes, but Warp Speed—that's the speed of light, 144,000. Now,
Ooh,
Christ, again, he is the
interesting.
light of the world. Satan, he disguises himself as an angel of light
Ooh.
or seed. There'll be enmity between her seed and thy seed. Now,
Hmm.
celestially, we are born again, right? But if you're going to be loving things of this earth and you have the empire of iron and clay being clay, your body, and
Hmm.
iron, nanotech, you're becoming part of the beast system as man mixing with machine, right? And
Hmm.
don't tell me that's wrong, because as I've shown this
No, that's
before,
clearly the trend. Yeah, no,
at the
I agree.
bottom of the Hermetic Kabbalah tree of life, or the hand moon jar, the 666 sign that day,
Hmm.
666, that is at the bottom, right?
Hmm.
It also represents X.
Yeah.
It means Melkut, right? Or Osiris rising. Okay, and we have X affiliated with Elon. A equals 1. I, retina,
Yeah.
I equals 9. AI equals X, 10.
Wow.
AI is at the bottom of the Hermetic Kabbalah tree of life. And also at the bottom of the Hermetic Kabbalah tree of life, if you align it with the chakras, Mars is at the bottom.
Wow.
And who wants to colonize Mars? The guy that owns everything called.
X.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
I'm going, and at the very top was Corona. So I said, okay, So if we put even the Star Rem fan over this, Trump aligns with all the, there was a solar and Earth, and then you have the feminine principle of Elon. So I'm over here going, guys, and don't tell me, like, again, I know people, I cannot advocate this enough. Is I am emphasizing exactly what the occult believes alongside that of the Bible prophecy. And I'm showing you we're in real time right now. Empire of the Ten Clay's Toes, the Club of Rome, the 10 districts that they want to cut up the world into for the Antichrist system. So, again, Third Temple. Do we actually need a third building? No. And they just
Mm.
rejected, I think, the red heifers.
Oh, well, what do you mean? Okay,
Yeah, a
expand
lot
upon
of
that,
people
because
don't
that's what I
know
was.
that.
Well, okay, because that's what I was going to ask you. Because I mean, I do see what you're saying. This was an interesting idea. I'm just now hearing this for the first time. So, because I was all like, what's going on? Like, because it seems to me that I was under the impression that they want to do a one world government ruled out of Jerusalem. I was believing that vein. Now I'm going to have to reassess that. So, what about
Well,
the red heifer?
this,
Or go
this
ahead.
is alleged. This is alleged. But the thing
Right.
is, what does he say about the Antichrist? He walks into the temple, right? And he declares himself God.
Hmm.
What if you're wearing a digital device?
Yeah. No, you're right on the
Temple,
money. I see what
your
you're
pineal
saying.
gland,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you're saying
and this if God
Trump
if
is
you
your
know the
God, and you become a
yeah,
zombie, which the CDC did
yeah,
release that there's a potential of this happening,
yeah,
right?
no,
They're
I
creating
see you.
serums for super soldiers. They're showing with Dark Maga Assemble Elon's video. I did a whole breakdown on that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
showing
yeah,
of a zombie like, country where everybody's going medieval, literally with laser zombie eyes, with
hmm,
Attack on Titan scenes. And it's like, so if we're making America great, but we're showing an authoritarian state,
yeah, yeah.
it that looks New World Order to me. Like
And you bring up a great point. Yeah,
you're
you
enforcing and
know,
you're eliminating things. But the thing is with Christians, what does he say? Thy word I have hid in my heart that I may not sin against God, but also keep your mind on things above. So
yeah,
as a Christian, your temple, that's the thing I want to compromise, is the
yeah,
body. I want
yeah,
control of a body again. And again, it also fulfills
yeah.
root server of all computers, demon. That is a Nephilim. I want a
And it
body to
lines up.
possess.
It lines up with all
I'm
the other. Wow.
succinctly, dude.
So,
Succinctly. And I know
so
people might think I'm out there, but when
no,
you
no, that
zero in on
it
this stuff,
makes
it's
perfect
like,
sense.
yeah.
But so when you say they rejected the red heifers, what do you mean by that?
So
That
apparently they found some blemishes or whatever, and this is
or
again
that makes them
downplayed,
unpure or unfit
very
for.
downplayed. They haven't talked too much about it, but again, they think they were supposed to be in April, May
Yeah,
of this
I knew
year.
they were getting close, right?
And then I heard September, and then all of a sudden I came again. It was a blimp in the news, but it was like, yeah, they found some blemishes and they're no longer doing it. So this
Mm.
started making me think of that phrase. I think it was in 1992 where Netanyahu was saying, "America is the golden calf, and we will milk it dry."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, ironically, the Hebrew word for was a cow or eagle, it's the same thing. And I saw the
Mm.
the, the writing for that where way it's spelt out, and they put it over the human skeletal structure, and they said that eagle and cow were basically spelt the same way. So in essence, a golden eagle on top of our flagpole, yes, that is a golden calf.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
going again, eagle, eye.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a connection with all of that. I'm not saying eagles are evil because
Interesting.
my buddy was like, "Oh, you're saying pine cones are evil?" Blah, 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 blah. There's the occultic interpretation of things. That's what I'm saying is that
Sure.
in the world, it's not bad. We can still crush it up and drink teas and stuff like that from some of this stuff for crying out
Right.
loud.
But the symbolism
Right.
of it
And
and the meaning.
inverting its natural use. The same thing with all their
Yeah.
sexual practices is I'm
Yeah.
inverting and giving a middle finger to God of abusing what is supposed to be.
Yes.
That is the whole
Yeah.
premise of Satan.
Messing with God's creation as much as possible as,
So again,
inverting it. Yeah.
inverting it, would you want to build a third temple? Or would you like
Yeah.
to capitalize as I will be like the God Most High? And what did God do with his son? He made the ability of the Holy Spirit to indwell us. Now, in
Yeah.
contrast, Satan had a group of followers who I'm sure are really ticked after what happened after the flood. Now, if you want to lie to your followers and you're going to be like, don't worry, I'm going to get a way that we can capitalize on all of this. We're going to take over the human population and they can indwell everybody. Well, how are you going to do that? I'm the prince and power of the airways, baby. I'll create
Hmm.
these 5G towers and they'll be able to go internationally wherever they want. Place our tumor corpse nationally. Like, I mean, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, this is
Yeah.
You create the circuits, like you said, they're destroying the frequencies and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And what is that going to do? It's going to open up the way. So why would the end times be cut short for the ecclesia, as the Bible is saying? Because no human flesh on the earth would survive if it did not, is what Christ says. Because when you unlock that, that's gonna freaking be like, I've been dying to freaking have an orgy and do this thing and that thing and all that.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna go freaking party mode,
Yeah. They're going to go party like
fighting.
it's 1999, right?
Right. And whereas in Christians, we're gonna have the marriage feast. The other
Hmm.
ones, you're getting what you wanted. You wanted to be indwelled by the bad guys. Christ gave
Yeah.
you an offer.
Yeah.
I was always casting demons out from
Did
people.
they deceive? They are deceived. They've been deceived. You know. Well, isn't
But
there
that
something
deception,
about
I
that?
will allow it because their
Yeah.
hearts have turned away from God. Same thing with
Yeah.
Pharaoh. I will allow his heart to harden. If that's
Ooh.
what you want, then you will get the plagues of Egypt. This is what people are advocating for, Mark. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sadly, this is what I'm saying.
Sad.
I said, if you are not of this world or defending statism, your again, patriotism is statism, and statism is slavery.
Yeah.
Very succinctly. Because if you're still defending your country or you have that in your bio or something like that,
Yeah. Well, I
I would
told you.
be
Wait, yeah, yeah. When I first started, this, I thank God every time again, helping me walk this path, this narrow path that is, what do they say? The path is narrow and few shall find it.
it will be
My,
that
my
find it. Yep.
the first, and even this, because there's so many, wordplay and corruption and deception. So the first compilation of documentaries, movies, books, articles, etc., was called The Patriot's Guide to Saving America.
Okay.
Then, as I awakened more months later, I'm like, I can't name it that because nationism, nationalism, and statism. And plus, I thought one of the main reasons was I thought, you know what, I don't want to tie this body of resources, which is helpful for helping people wake up to the lies and deception of the world, to America, because America might go toast. The people might not wake up, so I don't want to be called that. So I changed it to something else. And then finally, now what it is the Great Awakening. And then I also, on my journey, I realized, oh, the Great Awakening is a kind of a great deception, putting people into a false light. And so now I didn't change the name again, but what I did is I clarify and say, hey, be aware of a false deception, a false Christ coming on the scene. You do with that what you will. But this shows you how many words the devil has hijacked, how many
Yes.
ideologies the devil has hijacked. It's like there is very few things, music, media, movies, books, celebrities, politicians, religious leaders. I mean, what
Yes.
it has not been hijacked. And that's
And
why
well, dude, that's why I keep saying is stop emphasizing a leader, a substitute.
yes.
Again, you
Oh
do that again, you
man.
keep saying, oh, the Pope is a substitute.
Yeah.
That's Antichrist. Are you doing the same thing with your pastor?
Yeah.
Because I guess one historian put it that the pulpit is the throne of the pastor. And I'm like,
Yeah.
because I hate to say again, the church I was going to is that's again, even the dad and son, they're calling themselves pastors. And I'm just
Yeah.
going, you're emphasizing the adjective so much. It's your job description, it's your adjective, right?
Yeah.
You're emphasizing the title, which is stupid. Because if you're emphasizing the title, then you don't really understand the position. Now, if
Mm.
somebody asks me who's the pastor, that's the chap right over there. I call him
Mhm.
Bob.
Yeah. I
You know,
like that. Yeah.
as opposed
He's
to that's
Bob.
firefighter Frank, that's nurse so
Right.
and so. It's like I don't call you by your job description, right? That were
Yeah.
again, that's
Yeah,
very
that's
formal,
that's content creator Brandon.
right?
Yeah. God.
Or author Brandon Kroll. And
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's bad, but I'm saying like if how you introduce somebody, is it an adjective of describing what you do, or is it an
Or
adjective of defining who you are?
yeah, yeah.
And if you're constantly using that, or it's like, oh, it's this, you have to say this. It's like,
Hmm.
well, if I finally get to know you for you, right? Or especially in
Yeah.
ecclesia, humility, I don't always have to refer to you by that title, right?
Yeah.
Because the title is supposed to be a beloved term. You're my pastor because you're protecting me from things of this world, right? Or a shepherd, right? You're
Hmm.
helping me do this, and it's a term of endurement. Now you're telling me again, you officiated it, and you're telling me it's a term of authority.
Hmm.
And my authority is the word of God. And if you're also trumping this with saying I am the only purveyor of the word of God, And if I counter, cross-examination and say I've come to a different conclusion on this text, the early church were debating, right? I want to know. I want context and clarity. I want to make sure I live this correctly. You read all of Paul's letters and stuff like that. He's encouraging these groups. He's bashing the other ones, saying Bible literally
Healthy
says
debate.
this. Yeah, I said I know Torah, but come on, guys, get your act together, because for the reports I'm hearing, not too keen on them. That's not bad, but the aspect today, dude, is people have weaponized. They've weaponized the idea of, we celebrate the institution more emphatically than we actually try to define the individual.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think as you were saying before, is we don't teach that, of how do you think of something, that we're like, oh, I'm a critical thinker. And you're telling me critical thinker again when you watch these street interviews where we kind of, and I'm not saying that's
Oh,
wrong. I'm not
I
saying
know.
all that stuff. I
I
get it.
know. Yeah.
Downside is, do you know who really controls the world? Do you
Yeah.
know about Hegelian dialect? Do you know about, like,
You could
break
go on
down,
and on. Yeah.
right. And I'm saying, like, the deception aspect. And I'm not saying that because you want to become proficient. I'm saying is that because you're aware.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing, you just made me think of something, and I hadn't thought of this before, but it makes perfect sense. We know they've been dumbing down kids through the education system for 50, 70 years. We know that's the agenda. I don't think Christians, again, I'm going to say it, probably not going to be popular. I say this with love and respect. I don't think Christians have fully accepted or fully understand when you send your child to the public education system and your generations in, and you've had the systematic dumbing down that has been done to the kids,
Right.
that's going to transfer over to your child as a Christian. And just like you said, as Paul encouraged healthy debate and calling each other out, they don't have that skill anymore because they don't
Yes,
critical
skill.
think. And it crosses over barriers. See, Christians put so much faith, and I love them. I love all people, but they put so much faith in their relationship with Jesus Christ. They forget that they've been intellectually had intellectual warfare on them, and their children shuts down their ability to critically think. They teach them what to think, not how to think. And then that's going to cross over into the church. So you have a weak, watered down church as well. What do you think about
Well,
that?
I would only press a little bit with the concept of, you said relationship with Christ. The problem is they don't have a relationship. They have a concept of, it's a nice
Mm,
story.
good point. Good
It's a
point. I
good
got you. I
story.
got
He's
you.
a
Yeah.
good guy.
They haven't
Like,
internalized it yet.
thank you. They
Yeah.
haven't actually conceptualized the
Amen to
concept
that.
of,
Yeah.
I have to embrace this for me
Yeah.
side. And it's
Like
not
you
like,
like you say all the time, they're going through the motions.
right.
Yeah.
And this is part of and it's not a diss. Our culture does it. Culture. But I see a lot of people, even as a content creator, I've noticed it, and it makes me chuckle. But
Hmm.
they reverence, like, oh, we have to be nice because pastor's coming down here, or it's like, okay, cool. Why we're emulating this concept that he's such, great guy,
Mm.
and even myself, I'm just a dude who
Yeah.
said I'll get up and say something because nobody else will do it, and everybody started looking
That's
at me
kind of
going,
how I feel.
nobody does that. You want to stand out, you got to stand up. And I said, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not doing it anymore. So, well, again, I think that might be the beauty of the homeschooling. But I've also always had this is it intellectual streak, analytical streak? I don't know. The contrarian. I think the contrarian in me has always asked the question, why? It just was
Hmm.
naturally embedded in me, and I think some people, again, that's why they hated Socrates, but
Hmm.
he genuinely, I want to know why, or what makes a good society. I'll ask the politician because they're running everything, so they must know what is justice. And they're like, what do you so you don't know anything? I'll go to the poet.
No.
Tell me the meaning of the
Puppets.
words. Right. And they're over here saying, well, I don't really know. So you sound pretty, but you don't really know. I'll go to now to the construction people because they build everything of which we live in. So maybe they'll know. And right. And so people have their field of expertise. Yes, but people don't really bother, one, to go across the aisle, the proverbial
Mm-mm.
aisle, which I love. The concept of agora is, I might disagree with you 100%, but I respect, like I had with this debate, if they'd done this, I respect the ability of agreeing to disagree, but I want you to explain to me why you believe the thing you believe, how you came to
Yes.
that conclusion with citation and proof, be it as it may, as opposed to saying that's a straw man argument to deflect, or
Yes.
I love
Mm.
Jesus, so if you don't agree with the interpretation of the passage and you're coming after me because you're what are you doing when they did this in the
Well,
debate? You were basically saying, audience, love me. I'm at the plea of the mercy of everybody
yes.
out here.
They're putting
I
their
love
ego for
Jesus, so if they're
first.
attacking me, then they
Yeah.
are not loving Jesus. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we're not questioning the status of your salvation, good sir. We are asking why you believe the principles of your theology are
Yeah.
relevant and how they can be implemented. And can you please give me definitive proof?
Yeah.
It's
And
all
reasons why you
hyperbole.
believe that. Yeah.
Right. It's all hyperbole. And then is confirmation bias on their part because it's like, well, if you don't believe what I believe in, then you're not a real Christian.
Sure.
Well,
Sure.
okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
want
No,
to
I see
know
it.
why you believe what you believe. And it's not the fact that I'm going to convert. It's not the fact that I'm always just going to be a contrarian and just because some people say they just the contrarian concept. No, I'm contrarian as in I genuinely want to get to the root of the matter. I
Yeah.
genuinely want to see the world as you try to see it. At least try to even again as a writer, try to imagine it as you see it. And
Yeah.
most people, because of our education system, and I think
Yeah.
because of the conceit that they've infiltrated our minds with,
I do too.
we people do not have the ability, and this goes back to again what Galen was seeing. People defend the prestige of the person in which they say they endorse or
Yes.
follow, the
Oh,
philosophy,
or the
or
country
the
or the
or the soothsayer
town or
pundit,
whatever.
or yeah, or the politician,
Yeah.
whatever. I follow this because it's concise, it's simple. I don't have to
Yeah.
think and become independent and do something outside. And this is why a lot of people, when they're following a libertarian page or an anarchy promoting page, the comments are
Mm-hmm.
all like, "Oh, blah 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 blah." Like they don't understand. The
Mm-hmm.
concept is completely foreign to them because they say that they're free, but they say that with a ball and chain around their
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah. That they don't see it's invisible.
Right. It's like you don't, again, Jones Plantation, you don't even see it. And like my buddy
Mm-hmm.
Brian, well, oh, politics is basically murder and hypocrisy. And yet you keep voting. And yet you
Yeah.
keep doing this. Like you literally just said to me the truth, but you keep going back into the system, which is anti truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, you just said you hate hypocrisy. That is hypocrisy. So why are you endorsing the institute? Well, nobody's ever going to be 100% perfect. Christ was.
Yeah.
But we don't want to follow Christ because that's too much work, right? Like the guy, the rich man that approached Christ. I've already been doing all your laws and being obedient to all this stuff. What must I do to be the perfect follower? And get rid
Mm-hmm.
of your coins.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he walks away sad because something material is something you can't eject if push comes to shove.
Yeah.
So this is again, I'm not saying wealth is bad. The premise was being, listen, you really want to follow me? Can you get rid of the one thing you love most in this world?
Yeah. The love thing, one thing you love more than me, then,
Right. And then Christ
absolutely.
said, if you love your family and your children more than me, you're not worthy of
Mm-hmm.
me.
Sure.
Whoa. I'm just saying, dude. I,
No,
I
I
I could
get you.
be
No,
wrong, but
I hear you.
when I look at our culture, I do see a culture being cultivated into the concept of being lovers of themselves
I
rather
do
than
too.
lovers of God. And the
Yeah.
irony is, proclaiming to be wise, they became fools.
Yes.
This is what we
Yes.
have today as a whole
Amen to that.
sophomore.
Is
Wise
yeah.
fools. You
Yeah.
claim to know something, but you're literally only in the your second year of getting your graduate, and you do
Yeah.
not know anything about spiritual warfare. Most of these people in middle
No.
season, they don't know much about Jesuits. They don't know anything about Masons. They don't know anything about secret societies. Most of them that I've talked to, because with some of the questions I was asking,
Really.
well, it's out of my field. Blah, blah, blah. So if it's out of your field, that means you
Yeah.
have no idea what the devil's disciples are doing
Yeah.
post Christ leaving, if you want
Well,
that route, or where they come from, or what their end game is. And most people still don't understand what the mark of the beast is. I can literally show you, buddy.
yeah.
Right? And it says
Well,
to him that has understanding, he'll understand what 666 means.
mm-hmm. And the other thing that I think about is this, like in the warfare that is going on right now, you have to be well versed in everything as much as you can. Like
Fair amount, yeah.
a fair amount. I mean, you got to study politics, religion, food, media. Because though you got to study all the strategies and tactics and whatever, and ideologies. It's kind of like, who's going to make the better soldier? The soldier that only studies how to fight, or the soldier that studies philosophy and art and cooking? I mean, the
What's that
more you
meme? Is that
arsenal,
it's better to be a soldier in a garden than a gardener in the war?
Yes.
Because it's true. It's like, again, again, it was like you're
Yeah, less
anti-violence or
danger in a
something like
garden.
that,
Yeah.
or you're anti the concept of soldiery. Yes, in a sense, but at the same
It's
time, we hear about warriors, right? Like getting the Assyrians out of the country and stuff there's exceptions, but God will let you know when and where. The concept being, I know how to use it. I am more than proficient and capable of wielding it
mm-hmm,
if push comes to shove. The thing is, most times, like with your tongue, it should be sheathed.
mm-hmm.
If I do
Yes.
draw it, I want to make sure I know how to use it. And it should be, like I said before with Sensei, my mind and my tongue, if I can outdraw your sword with getting inside here with Sun Tzu, right? If I can manipulate in here how you think or how your followers think, what if I got one of them to freaking stab you in the back?
Yep.
But the concept being is, if you're able to persuade somebody
Yeah.
or convince, convict, convert, right? If you're, again, spiritual warfare, we're given the sword of the spirit. This is the same premise, but the same aspect, dude. If they do want that violence, then you came to me. I did not come to you. I did
Yeah.
not try to start. It's kind of like in the show Vikings. There was a certain point where they were trying to overthrow and have a coup against Ragnar, and they're showing it, and they're thinking that the bad guy that came into the camp is making all of Ragnar's friends turn on him, and he's making deals with them. And then come to find out, they all were basically telling Ragnar what's going on. So when they
Oh,
threw the coup, it was like, oh my god, you guys! I thought you were all with me. No,
yeah.
we're loyal to him, not you, right? And I
Yeah.
like that premise that came across in the show, because this is the same thing as Christians. We're constantly tempted by outside sources of Satan, right? Did God really say that? And try to
Yeah.
make you second guess yourself or doubt yourself so that you think you don't have any potential in this fight. And Christ is saying, it's not about you, it's about letting me indwell you so you have the power to articulate. I
Yeah.
will give you the words you need to say when the time comes. Thing
Yeah.
is, you got to start coming towards me. You got to get out of the boat, start walking towards me, Peter. Stop looking at the storms and the fears of life.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, I think
No, that's good stuff.
yeah,
You
I'll
know.
shut up.
No, no, no. This is all good. I think
You're
we
one of
I
the few people I get to actually be myself with, Mark.
really,
So
is that
kudos
so?
to you.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of your interviews and they all appreciate you. I mean, for you being you and doing what you do.
I know, but I mean, I think even since day one, our first episodes, I really were well received. It's
Mhm.
just I can kick back and be myself and articulate, and I know sometimes I start going into intellectual routes, and a lot of
It's
people they just
okay.
go, I don't
Oh, is
know.
that so? Is that so?
But with
Okay.
yourself, I feel like I can bounce something off of you, and you're like, you get where I'm coming from, and you
Well, I
understand what I'm
appreciate that.
saying, as
Well,
opposed to just
yeah.
being nice for the sake of like, okay, you're a little bit crazy, but
The Homer
I'll just
Homer
nod.
Simpson nodding politely.
Yes, yes, and I'm like, I don't, I understand, dude.
Well,
It sucks because it could be overwhelming, and I'm always putting a cap on that because
mhm.
I don't. I'm trying to be normal,
I'm trying
but
to
at the
fit
same time,
in.
and I want to write a book, the calloused mind, kind of showing how I used to be emotional. I want people to accept me, stuff like that. And now it's become very hardened. Not again, not in the
hmm
sense that it's not receptive. It's become hardened in the senses that I have to be like a steel trap. I can't let anything just come in, go out. And now it's like I understand I'm an onion, and there are certain layers and aspects that I can only share with per person, because not
Interesting.
everybody is ready for all of me all at
Yeah,
once.
they'll cry their eyes out or something. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
The
if you start cutting the
expression.
onion, prepare to start crying.
Well,
That's who I am.
yeah,
Cut
I
the
don't know.
onion.
I don't know if you might not follow this gal Laura Matsu, but regarding your statement of I have to kind of tone it down a little bit, like you just mentioned, or like kind of,
Yeah.
she said she made a brilliant point the other day, and I haven't heard anyone say this yet, other than historically sometimes you hear, like, I carry a little poster of Paul Newman and riding his motorcycle, and it's inscribed with, it says, "Attack life, it's going to kill you anyway. Like, you might as well go all in. You're gonna die."
Wow.
But what Laura Matzi said the other day, she said, "Look, AI's coming, the world's getting crazy. You might as well be as weird and as wild and as bold and as brave as you can be and just throw it all out there. And she makes a brilliant point. What have we got to lose? You
That
know,
was another meme that
it's a
I
Hail
saw, is that
Mary. It's a Hail Mary, you know?
the Pharisees are getting restless and annoyed because the John the Baptist are coming out and they're proclaiming, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord." And John the Baptist, he's wearing camel hairs, he's eating locusts, he's drinking raw
Yes,
milk and honey.
yes.
This is who we are. We're literally just being like, I don't give a damn. I'm
Yeah.
just,
You
I
have to
can't.
stop
If
caring.
I were to
Yeah.
be silent, the rocks would cry out in praise. I can't shut up. I can't censor. I'm censored enough already on here.
Yeah.
So if I'm
That's what
meeting you
she's
in
saying.
person,
Don't censor yourself. Just let
yeah,
it go. Let it rip.
let it go, let it go. Oh no, no, let's not go there. But it is the premise, dude, is that yeah, we don't have to be afraid because we
Mm-mm.
already know who conquered death. We know where we're going in eternity. The thing
Yeah.
is, dude, I really want to hear more roaring from the lions as opposed
Yeah.
to a flock of sheep braying because they're scared of the wolves and what's to come.
Mm.
Me, I'm not scared because guess what? I know I'm not going to be part of that system, right? I'm not going to be part of it. I know that. I'm an individualist. That's a problem. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
libertarian. That's a
Yeah,
problem.
you won't adopt that technology,
I'm an
so you'll be an out. Yeah,
anarchist.
you're
I'm
right. Yeah.
against the concept of this. So what does that mean? If I don't want to be of you, you're going to have to off me,
Yeah.
right? That's
Or ostracize you from
one
society. Either
extra
way.
F
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
pyre.
Off me. Yeah.
Using a lot of F's today without me actually saying the F bomb.
Yeah. No,
But
you're
yeah,
right. Yeah.
but that's where we're at, dude, and there's no shame in it. And if you know
Mm-mm.
you're going to die, and or you're, if God wants to use you as the two witnesses, if that's true, um, and or you're fortunate enough to avoid all the what's it, the
Pestilence.
heat sensors from robots and scanners and all
Mm.
this stuff, and you're fortunate enough to be living out in the wilderness or in the mountains and caves and stuff like that, then so be it. But at the same time, death is welcomed at this point because
Yeah.
I've written again, like we were saying before, drivers, stupid. Government,
Yeah. The
stupid.
world's losing their
Construction,
mind.
stupid.
Hmm.
Police, stupid. Like the more I look around, dude, it's like, go ahead. I'm one day away from being the guy from falling down.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's
Just
how it
do
was
it.
designed. Is like they're making they seem to be making the world look dumb and feel dumb and be chaotic and frenetic because people then because that's the problem. They're going to agitate, then they're going to come on the scene with this solution of like, oh, we can fix it with AI, or we can fix it with the surveillance, or we can fix it with this pill or whatever. They've got a solution up their sleeve. But you're right, Brandon, it is. I see, because of the mass migration that they caused during COVID, with states being, they know exactly what they're doing with California and New York and Portland, or in Oregon and Seattle and some other states, clamping down on people. They know people are going to flood into they know, and it just creates mass chaos. And what it
It's a
really
funnel.
is it's a funnel, and they're
It's
using
a
humans
whirlpool
as
funnel.
weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're just like, let's throw all these people over here to crash. So it destroys this city. This city grows too fast, or this ecosystem can't control. It's happening in Bali. It's happening in Tulum. It's just bizarre world we're living in,
Dude, I keep telling people you are nothing but statistics of gullibility to them.
Yeah.
The minute you stand up, and again, you find your purpose, you're not a pawn.
Yeah.
They are terrified. And that, again, that's why, as well, the politician's worst nightmare is the poet and the philosopher, because they understand the meaning of words and the mortality of our lives.
Wow. Yeah.
Again, you understand
Amen.
how to write something so you can counteract, again, poetically, whether that's again an author, whatever. You're countering the original, the official narrative with your words. The philosopher, again, it's the premise of saying, you know what? I've come to my own life philosophy, my own, and I don't like what you guys are saying. I don't need you, right? And I understand life is temporary. It's short, as you just I love that Paul Newman quote, dude. That's
Oh,
freaking
it's
awesome.
fantastic. It gets me up in the morning and makes me drive because he's right. And I also have
He
a,
said a lot of good stuff. We're getting to wonder if he was actually in the club.
well, yeah, I think he was, but I think at the end, well, he's the one at the end. I think he converted to Christianity, if I'm not mistaken.
I know Steve McQueen did.
Or Steve, well, that's no, that's who I was talking about. Steve McQueen. Sorry, did I say Paul Newman?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I did say Newman. I meant Steve McQueen. But the other thing I carry is a little memento mori coin. You remember you're going to die.
Yes.
Fugit tempo, time's flying. Memento vivere, memento mori. I mean, it's my
People don't even
greatest
know what that means.
ally.
But let me just pause and explain
Yeah, go
that. So
ahead.
basically, when a general or the guy that was selected to win a battle and he
Hmm.
won, he was given a triumphant. But at the same time, in his little hero chariot of this parade that they were throwing for him, there'd be a slave in the background going "Memento Mori, Memento Mori" every so
Oh,
often to remind him, "Hey, all this glory you're getting now, don't get too cocky. You're not a god.
really?
One day you will die."
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, that was his job. Is every couple minutes, just remind him, don't get too
To
cocky.
remind the hero.
Right. And I
Ooh.
think as Christians, that's kind of the same premise is, hey, remember, you're going to die. Life is but a vapor. Life's but a vapor.
Hmm.
What you do now is going to echo throughout eternity. The words that you say, the things you didn't say or stand up for and advocate for and or against. You might think, well, my
Hmm.
opinion on Gaza doesn't matter. It does. Everything that comes through your filter or your attention, shall we say, it's now part of you. You are now retaining something from this magical mirror device that is now accountable unto you because now you, again, knowledge is power, ignorance is bliss. Which is the better of the two? Can you answer me this? Right. And so if you have knowledge, what do you do with said knowledge?
Yeah.
Right. And we haven't really cultivated what you're supposed to do with it. And the downside is, what, dude, I see a lot of these conspiracy pages. They're posting pictures of like, oh look, he did it a creepy occult gesture, but oh these Satanists. Oh look, another creepy number. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like again, you could do that gesture and it freaks everybody out. But here's the thing: do you know what it means? Well, it
Hmm.
connects to Satanism. It means 666. All right, what's 666 mean? What
Hmm.
mark of the beast? And what is the mark of the beast? You don't know. Again, I'm saying
Yeah,
statistically
no, I
what I'm
get you.
seeing. So you're basically giving, and I'm not trying to be mean, folks, but you're giving a toddler a gun. I'm tied to a chair and gagged, and that thing is playing around with a trigger.
Yeah, spinning
I'm
it.
right. You're
Brrr.
like I'm terrified because I'm going, yo, you are actually dealing with how the
Yeah,
enemy speaks and talks, and you have
yeah,
no idea how that thing actually functions. I'm the
yeah.
adult in the room, and you're over your son.
Like you're playing with
No,
uranium.
right. He's like, you don't know what you're playing with. You're swinging at branches, and you don't know anything about the roots or origins, end games of what these people are planning. That's why
Good
I'm
point.
sad that I am censored, and it's not because of popularity. It's more of the because of the
It's
message.
content, it's message. Yeah,
Because if you solidified the message, then you're not actually swinging vaguely with your sword. You're making
no.
strikes. You're
Yeah, you're
making
piercing the
slashes.
heart.
You're getting
Hmm.
pokes. I
Hmm.
want you to be able to hit the enemy so that when they're down, they stay down. Again, Punisher.
Hmm.
I want to make sure that when you hit them, it hits them hard and they're
Yeah,
mad at you that you become an enemy on their radar. I
yeah.
want everybody, because again, it's just me. But now imagine
Yeah, you have an army though. You're creating an army. You're
an
recruiting an
army
army.
that knows what they're thinking. They
Oh,
know how to talk.
sure.
They know who they are in Christ. This is what I would like. And again, for everybody, again, like the cult of conspiracy guy, I am not saying I want them to follow me. I want them to follow Christ. I'm just a sheepdog. That is my role. A humble little sheepdog that gets in the mud and gets a little dirty and nips at heels. That's it. No glory for me. All I'm saying is I'm rattling a battle cry with what I just said. That is what I'm advocating.
Hmm.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mark. The same thing with all of our content. We're advocating we need to say, we need to do,
Hmm.
because solely just thinking and not sharing, right? Silence is compliance.
It is compliance. It is compliance. So, and
Evil,
that's
evil
what
men
they.
succeed because good silent men do nothing, right?
Yes, yes. I think about that. I think from the very big moment this COVID time started, and I could see what was angling here, and I was like, because that's one of the first things I thought about.
Mhm.
You know.
If I was to remain silent, dude, then I am a soldier of Satan.
Yeah, yeah. De
That's
facto,
yeah.
or
The only
by
time
by
Christ was
default.
silent is when he knew this is it. I am sacrificing everything. Most of the other time, I'm going to call you out by name. And he calls people names. People are like, "I'm not Christian to do that." Yeah, no, he calls them, your brood of vipers, right? Like he calls people names,
Hmm.
right? And I hate to say it, but sometimes it's like, okay, when I call you a cat again, I will try to reason. I will try to do all this. At a certain point, when I come to that narcissist, eventually you'll wake up and you'll see it my way. Okay, you're a coward and you're a narcissist. Here's my list of my
Hmm.
other things that I'm thinking about you. Goodbye,
Hmm.
block. Well, that's very petty. No, because here's the thing. I offered a moment for you to come and explain exactly why you think you're right. And you're
Yeah.
just going to say, no, you're wrong, or you need time to prep. No, at a snap of a finger. most of what you know, again, I want to prep for a show with Andrew Wilson. I want to do a debate on the Crucible. In order to do that, I want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a row and points. Could I probably do it off the cup? Sure, but is he
Sure.
experienced debater? Yes. Thing is, I'm more on the amateur scale, so you shouldn't have anything to fear,
No.
right? But I'm bringing visuals. I'm showing text. I'm recommending books. This is the thing that I'm stating is that you can cross reference to vet if anything I say has validity. The downside is that people have become absolutionists. So if I recommend a book, they look at the author and then they don't bother with the book, right? You
Yeah.
can disagree with what somebody says, the same thing with what you read. The problem is, if you want to understand who I am, you have to understand what's going filtering through here. What am I putting in the engine? What kind of gas, you
Yeah.
got to understand the process before you start condemning the fruit, right?
Yep.
Or the material. Because if you don't understand that, then you are making a premature analysis and assessment on something you do not know. And what does the Bible say? He who answers a matter before he hears it as an entirety, he is a fool.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, this is not me. This is Bible. I'm
Yeah,
paraphrasing
no, that's
roughly, but
good.
that's roughly if you've spoken into Google, it'll probably give you where does it say that in the Bible roughly. It'll give you that. And I'm going, yeah. And I'm chuckling when I'm seeing somebody write that comment towards me. I'm like, I have heard the matter. The problem is, again, with like Little Season, I
Yeah.
heard what he said. I'm coming to a different conclusion of what he said, right? I have a different interpretation. It doesn't mean that I'm right, but the thing is, I'm basing it on things that we know.
hmm
On the contrast, the other one's saying, well, Tartarian, oh, I base everything that I believe on the Bible. Okay, you're emphasizing Tartaria. Where is it in the Bible?
hmm
Listen, if you don't love me, then blah blah blah. It's not my fault, you know.
Yeah.
Well, no, you just said you base it on the Bible. Where is that word in the Bible? Please show me. Is it one of the missing books? Please tell me. You don't
hmm
have an answer. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I'm showing you the chart. You see this? You see this. Okay, cool. You see the news? Yes. Does this confirm something here? Yes. Right. Right. It's not just
hmm
vaguely aiming at something. It's solidified with
Yeah,
fact.
you're connecting the dots.
Right. And it's again, cross-reference what I say because the thing with the sophists, they'll get on a stage, they'll wear a suit and tie and stuff like that. And like, according to my research, blah 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 blah. No, it's not just solely your research. Who did you cite? Because a lot of people they carry the torch so that you can come to the conclusions that you have today. I want to
Mm.
follow that torch and follow where it traces back to. Because
Yes.
if it traces back to Christian or something that is good, cool. But if you have a bad light, right, or you're hiding your light under a bushel of telling me why you're not telling me where that's coming from,
hmm
that's where you get these podcasters and grifters that are selling you hopium, but they're not actually giving you food. They're not giving
Yeah.
you meat, manna, right?
Yeah.
You want solid food at a certain point as a Christian if you truly want to start living truth.
Sure.
I don't know what is.
Especially as we're getting, the hour is drawing late in the game
Yes.
here, and you're like, okay, you want to get off there's a metaphor, the fast food, the processed food, the junk food, the sodas. You want to start eating real wholesome food because I would highly recommend it at this point. It is wild to me.
It's
You know,
astounding, dude, that when you ask for the littlest thing, it's the greatest sacrifice for some of these people. And
yeah,
something that I
yeah.
chuckle with, like the my buddy, I'm not going to say his name. I think I told you this before, but
Mm.
it really did make me think because there's like personal things we go through on a daily basis that we encounter. Every day is a lesson, right? It always gives and every day is giving a lesson. It always gives the exam before we understand what the lesson is, right?
Yes.
As opposed to the lesson and then we get the exam of what you learned. It's always and my buddy, we were unloading this truck of stuff that he's getting, and he's trying to tug on this rope, and the rope snapped the strap, and he
Mm.
fell backwards, and he could have hit his head on this freaking metallic thing. It would have given him an instant concussion. But I reached out and I had my hand to stop and soften the blow, so it was in phases as opposed to straight blunt force. And I made the joke about, hey, what's the money to keep silent from not telling the wifey about this, you know?
hmm
And then I even joked to the guy as my buddy left, another guy that was standing there. I said, "Hey," maybe he had a trip to Bermuda after all this of a sign of gratitude that I just saved his life or having to go to the ER. He says, from him? Nah. And I said, yeah, we all say that he's stingy behind his back because it's true,
Mhm.
dude. There's
Mhm.
never a moment of saying, for a work day that I do with him, I'll give you an extra 20 or an extra whatever
Mhm.
for just for the hell of it. I know you're struggling. I know you don't have an income coming in, but it's always capped. It's here to here. You're welcome. I did you a service. Whereas
Mhm.
Christianity gets once in a while saying, you know what? Here's an extra 25. I do that sometimes when I'm going out to eat or something, dude.
Yeah.
I'll get a sandwich or something. I said, you know what? I'll put something in the tip jar. I'm broke, but guess what? They're broke too.
Yeah.
And money's temporary, right? I
Yeah.
don't have much coming in anyway, so when I do go out, I like to share a little bit of what I have,
Mhm.
right? This is the premise, and I'm just chuckling is that some people all they want is consumption, and then they feel like they're doing you a great service, just like with
Yeah.
a production company. Well, I gave
Mhm.
you a holiday bonus, right? Well, you bought me a nice party pizza, but it was cheese. I hate cheese pizza.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually would like this. Like you don't personalize it, right?
No.
You don't want to become intimate. It's distantly, what was it like? It's like a distant generosity. I'm doing an action, but there's no meaning behind it. I'm doing it for the
Mhm.
sake of doing it. And again, just like we were saying with traditionalism, I'm doing it for sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
Not that I love you, but just because it's expected. Contrast with Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for sentimental reasons, not because I love you, right? Do you
Mhm.
see how that turns
Yes.
around all of a sudden?
Yes.
I'm doing it because I love the tradition and it's sentimental to me as opposed to what is it required as the standard to God.
Yeah. True. True. Good stuff, Brandon. Good
Yeah.
stuff. All right.
I talk too much, man. I talk
No,
too
I mean
much.
it's vital important to talk about these things right now. I mean, I think I'm inspired to do it. Clearly, you're inspired to do it. I
I
mean,
am. I just I do acknowledge that sometimes I'm over talking you. I feel like sometimes in
no,
these
no, I don't feel
episodes.
that way at all. I
All right.
appreciate your work and your research. I mean, that's why,
I get
yeah.
passionate because like I said, a lot of times when you go into a community or a group or you're just trying to do one-on-one, most people don't know what we know.
It's true. Yeah,
And
no,
it
they
grieves
haven't
my
put
heart because even when I went to I think it was a Turning Point USA, they were having a thing afterwards when the speaker was done speaking. They would have a Q&A.
Uh-huh.
And there were times I was like, that was the best answer you could give.
Yeah.
And I was, and do you ever see The Accountant
Yeah,
before
the
you stop
first
watching? The first one,
one.
yeah, I feel like that guy. I'm over here tapping my fingers like I'm waiting for you to
Yeah.
stop because that was a stupid answer.
Yeah.
And I can't sit because I have to say something because my mind is constantly going 24/7. It's hard to go to sleep, dude. I sleep.
Yeah.
It's like sleep apnea all the time. Is that what it's
Because
called?
your mind's racing. Well, yeah, well, sleep apnea is when I think it's an
No, that's not
airway issue.
apnea. It's what's the
Um,
one when you can't fall asleep?
well, I just call it racing
Insomnia.
mind.
Insomnia. Sorry,
Insomnia. Oh, you have insomnia.
insomnia.
Okay.
Yeah, because my mind is constantly going, and I have to kind of go to
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah, you have to shut it. That's the thing. You need sleep to recharge your batteries. But if your mind's constantly going, hey, do you ever try uh golden milk, like warm milk with turmeric and black pepper? I've been doing that
No,
lately. It does appear to help promote restful sleep. And they even say if you use goat's milk and black pepper and turmeric, or just how they old treatment, old wives to like old herbology was warm milk. Drink a glass of warm milk. But yeah, golden milk. Small cup with a quarter teaspoon of turmeric and some black pepper. It's good. Warm it in the saucepan or whatever.
dude, I gotta
Yeah,
try it. No, because
it's
I
delicious.
have I
You can
have
put a little
turmeric and
honey in
black
it.
pepper.
Yeah,
All I
you can put
got
a
is the
little
milk.
honey in it too. But if you do it with goat milk, my understanding it's a little more, that amplifies the effects. But yes, yeah, no, and you're especially in this line of work where, and that's what happened when my eye kind of glitched out. I was up all night,
Yes,
2 months ago, and freaking, but yeah, in this line of work, there's so much to know and see, and I can feel what you're saying is it's like an addiction, like like oh my gosh, But yeah,
Obsession, I think, is more so as opposed to addiction.
obsession. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah,
Because the addiction, I mean, I can't stop.
it's a
The other
negative comp. Yeah,
the other aspect of this is that I'm obsessed because I feel like if I do stop, nobody's covering
yeah,
nobody's covering this flank.
yeah.
And
That area of the
I have
battlefield goes dark.
yeah, it's like if I stop swinging, they're gonna come over the ridge, and I may not be the best fighter, but I'm over here like I have to keep swinging because if I stop swinging, they're not ready for what's coming. I'm a little bit,
Right.
again, I'm not saying better than thou. I'm saying a
No.
bit more skilled and proficient with my sword. I'm holding the
Yeah.
bridge in
Yeah.
essence, so the rest of the people can get across. That's what it
Yeah.
feels like.
No, you are true. But I just want you to take care of your, I know you're doing this too, because we've talked offline about,
Yeah,
the health things you're doing. But I think for anyone, in the information war, quote unquote, like you said, standing up. I don't want to say on the front lines because I don't like that term, but if you're in the war, going where the action is, saying hard things,
it's
war
draining.
is hell. It's
Yeah.
straight,
As I messaged
It,
somebody the other day, I said I'm exhausted.
yeah,
I'm drained more than usual, and everybody's like, "Well, no, no." Well, part of it is because of this freaking summer months. I've always had a thing where it's too hot, too cold. I
yeah,
can't sleep. And again, it was like yesterday. I tossed and turned for about an hour and a half after I messaged you because we were gonna do our show. I couldn't sleep, dude.
yeah. And
I
so
didn't
your
pass out
body's,
until almost like 3 to 4 a.m. And I'm like, this is
wow.
not what I wanted because I genuinely, my body's
Yeah, you
exhausted.
wanted rest.
It just didn't turn off, and I was doing everything, like. But yeah, it's. Anyways, I'll shut up. We should probably
No, no, yeah,
let
we
everybody
could
know
wrap
where
it
they
up.
can find
Yeah,
us.
yeah, go ahead. Tell people where they can
Yeah,
find you.
for Mark's audience, I am Brandon Kroll from the Mana Daily Podcast, Spotify, Rumble, and YouTube. And then you can find me KROLLology _101 on Instagram. And then Mark, for my audience, if you could.
Sure, I'm everywhere at G Mark Phillips, including gmarkphillips.com and all social medias. And I appreciate you guys checking us out.
Yeah, yeah. As always, guys, thanks for listening to us rant. I know a lot of people are writing they're very happy about these conversations because it gives them a little bit of encouragement that they're not crazy. And some
Yeah,
of them
and I
told me
get a
they're
lot.
listening
I
to our
get a lot
shows
out of them
twice.
too. I mean,
Oh, really?
I
Good.
treasure them. I treasure them. I really do. I feel like I have a
Yeah.
front row seat to, in the digital forum that we have now. We're very fortunate to be able to
Yeah.
hear people that, thousands of years ago, you'd have to travel across the world. How are you going to do
Go
that?
to a
People
city
don't.
to hear some guy speak. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're so blessed right now to have this technology.
Well, dude,
So
it's for real. And you're absolutely right. And again, today we have comedians, right? When the speaker comes to my town, I'll pay money to go here, right? And it's the same premise, dude. People are hungry for knowledge or perspective as opposed to what they're just being told. Like, again, I know we're always looking down on our phones, but you do still see it. There's a
yeah,
little bit of a flicker every once in a while is help me see something differently, right? They're craving it, especially in this era where there's not enough fathers and mentors in this world. They are craving it, and people need to fill that void somehow, right? You got to
hmm
start reaching out. Anyways, shut up, Brandon. Shut up.
no, no,
Great. I
I
can't
get,
stop myself.
well, no, you're right. It's and people are realizing in mass the lies and deception of the quote unquote system, and they're like, well, that's not, I cannot keep going down that road because
Right.
you're just dangling a carrot to me infinitely. I'm going down the other road. People are moving away from the healthcare system, the financial system, the food system, the education system. They're like, this, all these systems that you guys created are basically enslaving me and or hurting me, and they're done, you know.
Anarchy is the exit off the highway of conformity.
Ooh,
I just thought of that.
yes.
That is, yes. That's what it
Yes.
is. It's the exit off the highway of conformity. Hell is a highway. That's what you do. You do you, you live your life, you do Kabbalah, traditions of men. Whereas we're over here saying, not for me.
Not for me. Yeah, people realize that it's not for them, and they're waking up. I'm encouraged all the time. I mean, yeah, it's sometimes a rough road, but I do know no one's going to that side the Exodus is from that. No one's going, I've had it wrong about government and religion. I'm gonna go, put those shackles. I
Well,
probably shouldn't say shackles on, but
yeah,
yeah,
but well, anyway, I think that the bridle, because the bridle gets
bridal.
where you want to. So with that said, Mark, I want to throw it this way for perspective: is that even when the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, there was a lot of Egyptian families that decided to join them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so basically, if there's a caravan moving, just know there's some people that don't understand everything that's going on, and they're going to need somebody to go on, bring them under their wing,
Yeah.
start helping them, start riding,
Yeah.
double, team up on the saddle here. People
Well, yeah,
are if you're all gravitating towards something, start helping best you
yeah.
can. You may not have everything, but welcome the
Because
stranger.
it's going to take a village. I don't want to,
Right, right. Thank you.
plug Hillary Clinton's
It's
book,
going to
but
take a nomad village of
yes.
particular people zealous of good works, just to help give them some mentors and again show them the reins. And I
Well,
think
and I think part of the reason why those people could have been following the caravan is because I think most people realize it's not working what the dog and pony show that the gov is selling. It's not
to
working,
go.
you know. So they're like, I know that my answers aren't there. I might as well put my stay, travel with this caravan. That's a great point, Brandon.
Well, right. And it's like, well, after all those plagues, after seeing people lose their firstborn son, and possibly losing your own, um, you're kind of convicted, going, you know what? Egypt's falling to crap, and you guys aren't going to be freaking building anything anymore. I'll follow your god,
Yeah,
or at least you people out of here, because it's kind of going to suck once you guys leave, right? It's that's kind of what you're getting with a lot of these people who are on the fence, the cynics. I'm getting DMs all the time. People are still trying to just find a little clarity, and I'm telling them, if you invest, my stuff will make sense. I
yeah,
promise you. But you
yeah,
got to start investing yourself, because basically you can follow me, but if you don't put on the warrior armor,
yeah. Don't
you're
be a
not going to be
dabbler.
able to understand me or why I
Hmm.
do the things I do. And when things hit the fan, you're going to try to run away, as opposed to saying, "All right, I'll bonk one of them on the head while you're dealing with them," right?
That's classic. All right, Brandon, have an awesome night
With
until
you,
we
Mark.
chat again.
All right.
Thank